It's Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B, now on ESPN 620, 98.7 FM HD2, and streaming live at arizonasports.com. The guys are powered by the law offices of Lerner and Rowe. In a wreck and need a check? Make one call, that's all. 602-9...
Making Mike's hot.
And now on your ESPN station in Phoenix, ESPN 620, Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B.
Well, you made it to Friday. Welcome in, Roc and Manuch with you today from Wright Toyota here on a Friday. And a good place, always here on Friday at Wright Toyota. It's our home, has been for the last 20 years. And making deals, as always. The rain didn't stop anyone, so good crowd in here already. So if you're in the market for a new or pre-owned vehicle, Wright Toyota, right on the corner, right on the price, Wright Toyota. So we're here till 4 o'clock. Today we'll catch up with Sean Salisbury. He is scheduled to join us in about 30 minutes. We will also have Scott Spreitzer, and we will have him do some handicapping when it comes to college basketball. A lot of great games over this weekend. And then Mark May. So that is who we have scheduled to join us this afternoon here on Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B. No Jimmy B. A couple topics that we're going to dive into. How we can improve the NBA All-Star Game. And a report that came out that there are going to be tax shelters for college football players, soon to be basketball players, when it comes to the NIL. So we'll dive into that story as well. But as we start this hour, some news coming out on ESPN that the Diamondbacks have added a pitcher to their staff, to their bullpen, as they've signed veteran right-hand reliever Kendall Graveman to a major league contract today. It was reported by Jesse Rogers of ESPN, a one-year deal pending a physical. D-backs are continuing to just kind of add to that bullpen, and here they bring in somebody else. Not saying he's going to be the closer, but he'll be somebody that's here that can maybe join and mix into the potential closers that they have as spring training gets underway.
Yeah, Graveman with the one-year deal. Was he injured last year? Year before, I think it was like a 3.2, 3.21 ERA. He's solid. He's a solid pitcher. I got to believe that Torey Lovell wants to have the closer. Day one, he may go a couple games here and there and see how guys work as far as saves are concerned. But yeah, he's an outstanding pitcher. The injuries, he seems to be healthy, as you mentioned, pending the physical to make sure he's ready to go. So all hands are on deck. The vets, what do you call them? Regular players will start reporting on Monday, and then things get going. First spring training game, Rock, a week from Saturday already. Of course, these guys are pretty much in shape by the time they get to spring training. They've been working out all year long over at the complex, and for most major leaguers, they might take a month off, but they get over there and take BP and field, and they got weight training. They got all they can deal with over there at the facility. So nowadays, it's not work your way into spring training, but just get yourself ready for spring training.
GCU, they committed 22 turnovers. It was the second consecutive game, but they overcame those mistakes, and they were able to beat Arlington State last night to improve now to 18-6 and 8-2 in the WAC. They pulled within a game of WAC leader Utah Valley, and they will get ready to play tomorrow at UT Arlington at 1 o'clock as the Mavericks are 8-2 at home, so they're playing pretty good at home. So it'll be a good one for the Lopes. NAU, they suffered a loss yesterday to Portland State. They lost to the Vikings 58-46, as they only shot 23% from the field. You're not going to win any games if you're shooting 23% from the field. So those are the games that occurred yesterday, but the ones that we're looking forward to and we'll discuss today and we'll even handicap are the ones that are tomorrow, and that has to do with Arizona hosting Houston and Arizona State taking on TCU, and the Iron Bowl between Alabama and Auburn. So we got some great college basketball tomorrow. I'm sure if it does rain, and what is the weather forecast for today?
It's supposed to be clearing up this afternoon, Rock, and this weekend is supposed to be sunny, partly cloudy. So
no rain?
No rain. And whatever rain we got was a couple of sprinkles this morning. And that was about it. We were supposed to have 70% chance most of the day and then clearing tonight, but it's going to be clearing out this afternoon. Highs around 70 degrees, And that's how it should be this entire weekend. Be a beautiful weekend.
Looks a little cold in Philadelphia. If you've turned on the television and you saw the Eagles hosting another championship parade in Philadelphia, where it ends at the Philadelphia Museum of Art. Started this morning about 9 o'clock our time. One of the big takeaways is Howie Roseman got drilled in the head with a beer can.
Oh, man. Not good.
Guy needs to
Come
watch.
on, folks.
You got what? No, I'm not blaming the folks.
Why
you got to watch what he's doing.
Well, you got to watch your surroundings.
Yeah.
You gotta know where you're at.
Time out.
No,
why are you throwing
you're not winning this one, Manuch. I'll quit on the spot.
Why are
you are not winning this
let
one.
me ask you, why are you throwing beer cans at the guys that just won a Super
They're
Bowl?
trying to supply.
Have you ever? You haven't been to a parade, have you?
I've never been to a winning parade. I've been to a parade.
Did you go to the runner-up one?
No, I didn't.
For the Suns?
I was under 90 that
So what
day.
typically happens in these parades
Yeah.
is the players that are on the floats or
Right.
on the big buses are encouraging you to throw beer. They're encouraging
to them. Okay, I got it. As far as throwing the beers.
but they're coming from 30, 40
Oh,
feet.
okay, I got
So
you.
if he can't stop a 10-mile-an-hour beer,
I hear you.
he's not athletic. He's a GM.
I thought it was like a stray somebody from the crowd just throwing at him for no
No,
reason.
you
So,
got
okay,
drilled.
I got you.
See, you just assume it's a Philadelphia thing
when you're throwing
and that,
when
you're going to rip the Philly fans.
well, when you're throwing batteries at Santa Claus during a game years
Rightfully
ago, I mean, so what am I supposed to think? Oh, there go the Philly fans, but I was unaware that they're tossing them beers to drink. I get that. Seems like a lot of fun, but a stray beer can caught him in the back of the head is what you're saying.
No, forehead.
Oh, caught him in the forehead.
Yeah, right in the forehead.
He's okay?
I guess.
He popped
That's
that
what
beer open?
I was listening to WIP on the way in, and that's what they were saying. They were like,
4
hey,
minutes.
he got drilled in the head, and I was laughing out loud. I was like, yeah, dumbass.
Can you imagine if he goes down, gets that beer, pops that bad boy open, and just chugs it just for the
Maybe he did. I haven't seen the footage. I've heard the guys are feeling pretty good as they're coming to the Philadelphia Museum of Art. If you don't know what the Philadelphia Museum of Art, that's Rocky Steps. If you saw the movie Rocky, going up the steps, that's where the championship parade ends, and that's where all the coaches and the players speak. And Merrill Reese, the fine play-by-play guy for the Philadelphia Eagles, is one of the MCs. So this parade taking place on Valentine's Day. So city schools, they were closed for the parade. How cool was that?
Good for them.
Even the city court closed down. The agencies closed down. Just something that I would love for this city to
Could
have
you imagine?
sometime.
Well, the Diamondbacks, no one's ever experienced it. That's about it. I'm sure it was pretty. It was that November, so it wasn't bad weather.
Never.
It was pretty nice
3
weather
minutes.
after they beat the Yankees. But that was quite the parade. I think they had I'm gonna say 300,000 people down there, and I can't remember if it was a weekday. It had to be.
I think it was about 300,000.
Yeah.
That's the number was.
about 300,000 downtown. They went right by
Philly,
there.
I think they're going to probably announce 1.5 million.
They were predicting that. They're predicting about close to 1 million people. Well, Chicago, what they have there? Lincoln Park, close to 1 million people when they won the World Series several years ago.
The Cubs.
Yeah, they had a bunch of folks that were down there right there by the lake. And
What do you got, Jax? I knew you're about to say something.
Yeah, I was just saying Howie Roseman yelled in the microphone, "I bleed for this city." So obviously he doesn't care.
Dude, that's great. I'd take one in the head.
He's got a big old mark on his forehead.
Got a knot
too.
there?
I know Cooper DeJean has a gash on his eyebrow because he's wearing this big old chain, this Bud Light sparkled chain in it.
Yeah.
Clipped him in the eye. So no one really cares. And I saw Saquon earlier. Someone threw a beer at Saquon and he didn't
2
go
minutes.
grab it and it hit a girl in the back of the head.
Oh, man.
Yeah. It's a good time in Philly. I think it's a compliment when a beer is thrown at you.
I do
You can
too.
walk
Well,
in, you
they-
don't have any
Not
beer.
thrown at you, but tossed you to drink.
No.
thrown to you, Manuch.
Thrown to you.
Thrown to you,
Have
yeah.
you ever watched a
No,
parade?
thrown to you, not
Are
thrown
you that
at you.
naive?
Yeah, thrown
At you into you. It's the
Yeah,
same thing.
exactly. Okay, yeah. If you say if a beer thrown to you versus, hey, you ever thrown beers at the guys? Meaning, I would think they're just tossing them without the
They're
guys looking
throwing,
at
toss, throw, same
it.
thing.
But they're aware that the beer's coming into them.
Not necessarily, but you're on a parade route. And you got stuff thrown at you. You got graffiti all over
Confetti.
the place. Confetti. What am I saying? Graffiti. Confetti all over the place.
Right.
I mean, seriously, it's.
I would
You've never
love
seen
it.
a parade before then. You've never seen a highlight of a championship
Oh
parade.
yeah,
You've
yeah,
never seen beers coming from all over the place.
yeah,
You
guys.
see those guys,
Sure.
down them and
You say, hey, he got a beer that hit him in his forehead.
you
My
just
first
assume.
thought was
You just assume.
just
1
like,
minute.
yeah, I'd assume that back in the day that the Philly fans would go ahead and toss batteries at guys on the field or at Santa Claus. So they were tossing it to them, not at them.
Hey, our State 48 Roofing, it's your call question of the day. By the way, with the rain, if you have any roof issues, you may want to check them out. Go to state48roofing.com and get a free quote online. What part of the NBA All-Star Game will you be interested in watching? Will it be the games, the three-point shooting contest, the dunk contest, or the skills challenge? That's your 4 choices. It's up on our X Twitter page at Roc and Manuch. Coming up, Jim Nantz thinks the NFL should ban the Eagles' tush-push play. And a former Coyote is a very proud dad today. We'll tell you what that's all about next. You listen to Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B right here on ESPN 620, 98.7 HD2. And we are streaming live on ArizonaSports.com.
It's Friday, and the guys are live from Wright Toyota. Right on the corner, right on the price. Wright Toyota, located at 77th Street and Frank Lloyd Wright Boulevard in Scottsdale. Now back to the guys on ESPN 620.
All right, so there are some pundits as well as a bunch of fans that are not big fans of the tush push. Of course, that is the play that the Eagles have trademarked and have had a lot of success. Some other teams have tried it. Some have had a little bit of success, but not to the point that they are known for the tush push like the Philadelphia Eagles.
Eagles have it perfected.
Yeah, Jim Nantz was on a podcast, and I failed to remember the podcast, but I believe this was yesterday, and I will find it because I want to give them the proper love for us using this sound. But Jackson, if you can find that for me, the podcast he was on. Here is Jim Nantz saying they should eliminate. We have 2 cuts here, I believe. 2 cuts. Is that correct, Jackson? 2 cuts?
Yeah, it's in one clip.
It's all in one, though? Okay, so you're going to hear the response to eliminating the tush push, and then followed up on how to phase it out.
I want to address one other thing while we're talking rules. You talked onside kick. I'm done with the tush push.
Mm-hmm.
I think it needs to go away. And I know that's a big part of the arsenal for the Eagles. I think it needs to change. Now, they execute it better than anyone. So Philadelphia fans, will there be an outcry? Say, why are you penalizing us? I don't like the play.
Why?
I just don't like the play. It feels too automatic. And maybe you could do something to phase it out a little bit and not totally penalize. Maybe it's like coaches' challenges. Maybe you get 2 a game.
Oh,
1 a game.
interesting. Very creative.
Yeah. Don't take it completely away, but you have that in your hip pocket. If you're going to use it, you can use it twice in a game.
What the football podcast? That's Jim Nance. Manuch?
I like it, but I was surprised that nothing has, after the first year they did it, that something wasn't done, because they allowed, was it a few years ago, they allowed you to go ahead and help the runner. So if you're getting guys are getting tackled down the field, you can, as a lineman, come down and push that runner as well.
They do it all the time.
You do it all the time.
First down.
So I don't see anything different from that than that was. I said leave it there. It's automatic. Sure, it's automatic. That's why they're so successful. It's 4th down and 1. They're pretty much going to probably get a first down. I've seen other teams like the Bills who've tried it a couple times, got stopped by Josh Allen. Felt it was a first down, but the way they do it, until the NFL says, well, we're going to keep it, maybe you're going to do it once or twice. That's the rules are you can do it. So now you want to change the rules again. It used to be you could not do it. You could not ever help a runner, quarterback, whatever, push the pile. You couldn't do it. Now they've allowed it because I think they've had the success, and you can do it down the field as well too.
There are a lot of people who don't like it. We had Jim Haslam on the program last week. He made a point. He's a great defensive coordinator, former head coach. He hates it.
Mm-hmm.
But
can't stop
if you can't stop it,
exactly.
You can't stop it. But your offense could do it too.
Sure.
All the other teams can do it too.
Yeah. I really have no problem. I think it's, first down. Let me see if this defense can stop it. And, 9 times out of 10, defenses aren't going to stop it. And when you get down there on the goal line, you're assured a touchdown. That's your advantage. That's your game. So if you're a defense and they're going to do the tush push, 4th and 1, might be 4th and 2. Who knows that they're going to go with it, figure out a way to stop it. Now, I know the what was the NFC Championship game? Who was looked to jump a couple times. Luva, the linebacker, tried to jump it a couple times, just couldn't do it. So I'm like, until the National Football League steps in and says, this is something that's just too easy, well, what's wrong with that?
And you got to give the Eagles a lot of credit for putting up those butt guts. The average lineman is 338 pounds and 6'6" in height. I mean, they are the tallest and the heaviest lineup that the Super Bowl has ever seen in the history of the Super Bowl. So it's a copycat league, right?
Sure.
So start getting some bigger linemen in there.
And I agree, Rock. That's part of the Philadelphia Eagles offense. That's part of their strategy.
It's unique, but it works, and it's an advantage.
And right, so you're going to tell, let's say a team comes out and throws, they throw 80% of the time. Are they throwing too much? Is it not fair? So when I hear Jim Nance talk about that, I'm going, that's part of somebody's offense. So if you're negating somebody's offense or taking away some of their arsenal or some of their strategy, you can't do that. Just figure out a better way on defense to stop it.
Oh, so yesterday, Brandon and Matthew Tkachuk, and you remember, Tkachuk,
Keith Tkachuk,
who was a big-time star here in
huge.
It was him and Roenick and
JR,
yeah, and then of course Shane Doan. Those 3 were the guys, right, in hockey. Well, last night they did something, these 2 brothers, that has never been done before. They each scored twice. Each scored twice in the United States, beating Finland 6-1 in the Four Nations face-off. And here is just a montage of these 2 brothers, 2 goals each.
8 Panthers in the tournament, which is remarkable. Matt Boldy skates onto it in the corner. Centering pass, Tkachuk, check from behind, tries it back, shot, score! Brady Tkachuk Banked it off UC Soros. Second effort from Kachuk. Ties the game at 1. Zone entry. Wristed from Kachuk. Just like that. This hits. Team USA with a 2-goal lead. A deflection, you would think, on the long wrister from Matthew Kachuk. Michael to Kachuk. Second of the game for Brady Kachuk. Team USA has blown this game open in 3 minutes of third period time. Matthews with Lindell losing his stick. Some open ice. Werenski hooks a pass back to Eichel. Gets a return. Werenski shoots. The second on the power play for Matthew Kachuk.
So the Kachuk brothers become the first siblings to each score multiple goals in the same NHL International Tournament game. How about that? They will play Canada tomorrow at 6 o'clock on ABC 15. Now, I very rarely have anything negative to say to Canadians. Very rarely. But I am now. And I have some close Canadian friends. But I get made fun of for being a Philly fan and how sometimes disrespectful and rude we are. Well, I think Canadian fans are doing the same. And what they did last night, they booed the Star Spangled Banner last night at Bell Center in Montreal. And that was, of course, the Team USA in Finland. And it's something that's been going on in the NHL cities too. And I'm sorry. I guarantee you, Mr. Canadian, if you're having issues or you need help, your first phone call is to the United States.
Little military action.
Just remember that.
Yeah, I think that started about a week and a half ago when Trump levied the tariffs on them, and they weren't happy about that. So I would have thought they got over that because that has been resolved.
It has. So that's why I could see it first, and that's a reaction. Yeah. I understood. They weren't going to Costco. They weren't getting gas. All right, fine. Don't. If you don't need gas, then then you don't drive. But if this continues, come on, that's a problem.
Yeah,
I guarantee you, our president won't take it.
Yeah, I just thought that. To your point, it was a reaction when the tariffs. And when he lifted the tariffs, by the way, the tariff he had it upon as far as the military, they'd already agreed upon that 6 months earlier. Trump just reiterated it, so that's gone away. So I would think that things will calm down.
I do give the Americans that were there in that game. There was a pretty good showing. But of course, it's in Montreal, so there are going to be a lot more Canadians there. But once that puck did drop after the Star Spangled Banner, they went into a big USA chant, and that it kind of drowned it out a little bit, but not quite. So anyway, all right, one more sound. Last month, Duke's Coach K, formerly, called for the Big East and the ACC to merge and create a mega conference. And this was on his Sirius XM radio show. St. John's coach Rick Pitino was also on board. We have some sound of them talking in this past week. And it's more not necessarily on the ACC and Big East having an agreement, because I don't think it's going to happen, because the ACC and Big East media rights, they're there for another decade. So it would be really difficult for them to kind of come together. But where they got into it most recently is NIL and the lack of being able to have practices. And I love hearing these old-time coaches, but, you got to give Rick Pitino a lot of credit because the guy's had a lot of success with Coach K.
Absolutely.
But listen carefully how Rick Pitino kind of breaks down how his sport has changed so much.
We're never proactive with the NCAA. We're always reactive. And the fact that we have a 20-hour rule now, and the fact that we don't have unlimited practice time is absurd. Some players are making $1.5 million, $800,000, $700,000. And the fact that they have 4 or 5 hours in the summertime of training is absurd. And that's where the NCAA is just not proactive at all. They're not training their athletes to be great players, and they're professionals. So they're always
2 minutes
behind the times, and they never react the right way. And that's the major concern I've always had with the NCAA. They wait for something to happen negatively before they react.
It's true. And once we get into a big about 2:15, I'm going to talk about how we have officially crossed the line of stupidity when it comes to the state of Georgia and now Atlanta have proposed a bill to eliminate, in Georgia at least, 5.5% of income tax on NIL income, which is
Eliminate
a tax shelter.
Wow.
So now, if this keeps going, you got these pom-pom waivers that are politicians, and they're doing some really stupid stuff. And I'm sorry, and I'll get into a lot more because I'm going to break it down because I think a lot of people don't realize what an 18-year-old walks into. And it's not this. In my argument, it's not going to be necessarily the money. It's the entitlement of the kids. And if only 98% of kids get to the next level, say the National Football League, they're all going to have to eventually get a job, and they're all going to have to pay bills, and they're all have to do their own damn laundry. And I'm going to kind of bring it all in. So we'll do that. But next, Sean Salisbury. It's Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B, ESPN 620.
It's now time for your Roc Manuch with Jimmy B's bottom of the hour ESPN 620 Sports Update, sponsored by Twin Peaks Sweethearts Day from Jackson Groff. An Arizona State Sun Devil and 3 Arizona State Wildcats are among 329 players invited to the 2025 NFL Draft Combine. ASU will be represented by standout running back Cam Scatterboo, while Arizona's invitees include projected first-round pick and wide receiver Tedero McMillan, offensive lineman Jonah Savania, and kicker Tyler Loop. According to Mel Kiper, has Scatterboo slated at his 8th best running back in his big board rankings. Matt Miller, ESPN analyst, has Tedero McMillan going 9th overall, and the stud offensive lineman from Arizona projected to go 27 to the Baltimore Ravens. It's a Sweethearts costume party today at the Five Valley Twin Peaks location. Scenic Views are calling you to Sweethearts Day. Swing by for scenic views wrapped in red and steal your heart specials at Sweethearts Day at Twin Peaks.
I was in a wreck. I need a check.
I was in a wreck. I need a check.
Yeah, he said just don't ask him about it for now. He'll have a press release so the company. Yeah, no problem.
Salisbury.
Salisbury protected well, and has a first down as he hits Camp Lee, the 49.
Now on Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B on ESPN 620.
Former Minnesota Viking, Sean Salisbury now on ESPN 620. Sean, could you see Aaron Rodgers in a Minnesota Viking jersey? Kind of follow the same footsteps as Brett Favre. You know, he was a Jet as well, then a Viking. You see it going the same direction, possibly?
I guess there's a possibility. I mean, we can all be bought an opportunity, and wouldn't he like to have another, that receiver there? But I would think that for me, the Pittsburgh Steelers seem to be more logical because, and in truth, I'll be honest with you, if you're going to do Aaron Rodgers in Minnesota, why not a guy who finished in the top 7 or 8 in the MVP, re-sign Sam Darnold for less money at $15 million? Let's say you give Darnold, you're not going to franchise him now because that'd be $40+ million. You're not going to sign him to a long-term contract because the last 2 games it's still in flux, and you got McCarthy coming, but he's coming off a rookie injury, and will have not played a snap. And I know you have high hopes for him. So the bridge, I'll be honest with you, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to win me more games in Minnesota than Sam Darnold at this stage of their career. I just don't. And whether the Achilles, and I hold Aaron Rodgers in the highest regard, but I can get Sam Darnold a lot cheaper to bridge the gap. And if Darnold ends up somewhere else, then that's fine. But I don't think that that's the place for me. It's Pittsburgh because I don't think Fields is a long-term answer, and Russell Wilson's best football is behind him. And maybe the Raiders, if he wants to go out there and they want to make that commitment to Aaron on a short-term 1 or 2 year deal. But I don't see Minnesota just because it would slow down. If they are going to move on from Darnold, then that means they're just going to turn it over to McCarthy and grow from there. So it wouldn't make any sense for Aaron to go there. If you need another year bridge before McCarthy's ready, Sam Darnold played well enough for me not to go out and get most of the year. If he had a great game against Detroit and an average playoff game, Sam Darnold would already be under a new contract, I assure you. So, or whenever the free agency part started. So he'll be fine, and he may want to go somewhere and be a starter, but nobody's going to offer him, $30-35 million to leave. But he put up enough to at least entertain stuff like that.
Rock brought up the Colts yesterday. You talked about a bridge or maybe a guy take a 30-second timeout in Richardson and bringing Aaron Rodgers in, and I think that'd be a good potential. But don't you think Rodgers wants to go where he has a chance to at least make the playoffs or one more go around and try to win it all?
Oh, 100%. And I was thinking about that, the bridge, and they had Flacco obviously filling in for Richardson. Richardson, an enormous talent, but 44 to 48% accuracy won't fly in the league. He's going to have to, whoever coaches him in the off season, whatever he does with the mechanics part of it, because I mean the dude's he's the typical freak show we got going on. These guys that can run and throw, he can throw it from here to Indianapolis and from Texas to Indianapolis. He's got every skill you want, but the number one skill he doesn't have. Aside, and the leadership thing was in question when he begged out, and hopefully that was just a young guy, immature mistake. But the accuracy, I don't know how you survive in this league on an average, on a decent team, but average, a 9-8, 7-win team, by completing 50%, 48%, 45% of your passes. I don't see how you now. Even if he bursts out and comes out and gets to 62%. It's crazy now, but that in the NFL, that's kind of low now. So, but he could survive it then because he can make up for it with the skill set, but not in the 40s. That's not sustainable as a starting quarterback. So, but I know I go on every week in Indianapolis. They friggin' love his skill set. They love it, but they love it until 44% gets you hurt. So the question is, will he pout? Did they take that step back last year, give Flacco a go, and now bring him in? And you're just going to grow with Richardson and say he's going come hell or high water. So, but the side you guys are talking about makes perfect sense. If you're looking for a bridge, and you were a playoff team or a team that could win a Super Bowl, should I say, then Aaron Rodgers is a good go. Mm-hmm. But if you're Aaron Rodgers, why would you want to go there? I want to go somewhere. He can go anywhere and make some money. I'm hoping he's made plenty of it, and he'll make plenty of it when his career is over, whatever it is he wants to do. But I think that Aaron Rodgers ends up someplace where it gives you a chance to win. If he just wants to go to Tennessee for a year and survive it, or 2 years, make yourself $60 million or whatever it is, and you'd be great. But if you're looking to win, the question is, who is that? And of all the teams that I've gone over, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers, depending on what they do. It's a good place. They've got good players. Their defense will keep them in games. It's a tough for blue-collar town that they expect to win. And Mike Tomlin's teams don't finish under 500. Or in this case now with 17 games, they don't finish under 500 and win 8 games. They just don't. But they could use a better thrower, and maybe a year coming after this injury, Rodgers will be better, and maybe have a bone to pick, and maybe even a little more, energy as the quarterback, which it felt like New York and the whole thing just kind of took everybody's energy away, him included, and he took some energy away too. He's tough on franchises, and he's tough on his teammates, and he's tough on players. And while I love him, Pittsburgh seems like the right fit just because they're a playoff team, and they're a team that with a little more offense, then you got a chance. And with him, he's far better than the two guys combined that are there now.
Sean, would he be happy, do you think, to go to a team that needs a great insurance policy, a good backup that has a chance of winning it all, but they've got their guy? But it's like, Aaron, we'd love to have you. Can't pay you this, but if he so-and-so goes down, we still have a shot with you. Do you think he would look at the backup role with the right team?
I don't think he feels like he's at that stage yet from my vantage point, Manuch. I think it's, the guys who's rolling along, and he's at the age where you'd say, yes, hey man, go milk a handful more years of it, play 5 and just, and lead a guy, help a guy, be there in case, go all Joe Flacco on it. Right. But I think Aaron thinks he's a legitimate starter. I think it's probably the last 2 years, what happened in New York. There's got to be a little bit, while the money was good, there's got to be a little bitterness because he was hurt one, and then everything went sideways, and they ran him out. The new coach, we don't want you here. So they're basically, that's what they're telling him. So, and he hadn't had that feeling much in his career. It's usually he's running the show. So I don't see it because I think he'd be on the sidelines, and I think he's maturing more as far as helping the other guy. I don't think he feels like he's there. I think if you went to him and said, how about backing up for 2 years? We'll even pay you $40 million, $20 a year as the highest paid backup in football history. I don't think he'd do it for the simple reason. I think he'd retire first. I think he's got other interests that would drive him out. If there was only backup jobs available, I don't think Aaron Rodgers would take that. And I don't think it's the money. I think it's the ego and pride of being a backup to somebody he thinks he's better than. I don't think that would happen.
Sean Salisbury, Roc and Manuch here on ESPN 620.
3 minutes.
All right, Sean. I gotta, kind of pat myself. Yeah, gloat a little bit. My Eagles, born there in Philly, and they destroyed them. I mean, it wasn't even a game. Come on, how does that happen?
I can't remember the last. There's a couple I can't remember is what I'm about to answer. I can't remember the last time in the middle of the first quarter, late in the first quarter, I felt like I did about a Super Bowl. And it was the one score 12 times they beat teams in one score games. They've won games this year.
Yes.
The game was over. In my mind, I almost found something else to do at the end of the first quarter. That's honestly got true.
Oh, really?
In the middle of the second quarter, halftime came. Because we cooked and done all that. I went and got a shower. I didn't see the halftime show.
Wow.
I came back and said, I did not. Not one hour. And I'd watched the commercial halftime show. And it looked to me, I've never seen
2 minutes.
Seems so lethargic. So the lack of passion, the lack of execution, that's not him. And I mean, that's just not who he is, obviously, or the Chiefs. It felt like they were, it felt like the other team was making the historic run. Like they were going for 3 in a row. I don't know if it's the hype. If 2 in a row was plenty, 3 in a row is too much, all the leading up to it. It looked like an ill-prepared, non-passionate, physically weak football team. Now, I say that knowing that I know who they are and that they'll be back, and Mahomes is great, but he's yanking balls into the ground. They can't block anybody. And the 2 Super Bowls they've lost now, the tackles in the game against Tampa got the backups because they were hurt. They got hammered at the line. That front 7 dominated that game, and they went on and won. The front 7, Vic Fangio had as good a game plan as you will ever see and didn't blitz once. 4 dudes were knocking those guys back into the quarterback. And then it got to the point when I know it's Mahomes in 8 years and he's invincible most of the time. His head was watching the pass rush. He'd drop back first guy and he had to bail. And I don't blame him. I get it. It was as one-sided. The score was still not indicative of the ass kicking they put on him. It was
About a minute left.
Name me a phase of the game where Kansas City was better. The one thing they did great is Barkley hit singles, like we said.
Yes.
You got to hold him to singles. And they did, even though he carried it like 25, 26 times, and he threw it and he caught some passes out of the backfield. They did shut him down from the home run. But then Hurts, who's been great under pressure in 2 Super Bowls, would have been the MVP in the previous one. Both big perimeter wide receivers get single coverage. They go score in Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. So they did everything that if you stop this, the other guys had to execute, and they did. And Fangio's game plan was Steve Spagnuolo-like without the pressure. Philadelphia was phenomenal. Jalen Hurts deserves more credit for being just a poised winner. And the Kansas City Chiefs got a lot of work to do because we saw some flaws in that game that were, quite frankly, a bit shocking to me. And their offensive line, they can't block any. They're going to have to improve that this offseason. It was, we were talking about over-under on, how many more will they go to? I think it's going to be tougher to get to more with those AFC quarterbacks than we think. I thought Philadelphia was masterful in it, and I thought it was absolutely spectacular game plan on both sides, and they were out-coached, meaning Kansas City. There wasn't a phase of the game that they were better than. And as I
Good to wrap if you like.
stat last week, look at the attempts. 11 rushing attempts for not the yards. 11 rushing attempts, 44 or 45 rushing attempts for the Eagles. You are not losing Super Bowls or games when you run the ball damn near 3 times more than the other team. You're going to win about 99.9% of the time. Attempts is a leading stat, and Philadelphia hammered them in that category.
Good stuff. Sean, thank you as always, buddy. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Appreciate you guys. Thanks so much.
You got it. Sean Salisbury joining us here, uncensored, unfiltered, and we always appreciate him making some time for us here on Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B. You can follow him on his Twitter page at Sean Salisbury, and that's SEAN and Sean. And he is brought to you today by All City Towing. Join the team at the largest towing company in the state, All City Towing. He was talking to their GM today, and he commented on me making a comment about Howie Roseman.
Yeah,
that he got hit in the head, at the parade today, and that I made a comment you may not have heard that he's not athletic, he's a GM. So my buddy took offense to that because he's a GM. He thinks he's athletic. So he's the guy that you would talk to if you're looking for a job at All City Towing. Yes. So visit them online at allcitytowing.com. That's All City Towing, where your future is on the move. All right. The Giants are looking to sell 10% of their NFL team, and the USL, that's the league that the Phoenix Rising plays in, they got a green light to launch a top-tier league to rival MLS. That's coming up. Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B. Now on ESPN 620 and on FM at 98.7 HD2.
It's Friday, and the guys are live from Wright Toyota. Right on the corner, right on the price. Wright Toyota, located at 77th Street and Frank Lloyd Wright Boulevard in Scottsdale. Now back to the guys on ESPN 620.
All right, I forgot to tease this. It's a free Food Friday. And today, Wetzel's Pretzels has stepped up. And we'll take caller number 5 at 602-230-0620. 602-230-0620. So if you want lunch on us from Wetzel's, we're actually on because of Wetzel's. I mean, they're all over. You see wherever you go. They're in Walmart. They're all over the place.
So good.
100 plus, I think, locations. Wetzels.com for a location near you. So they're hand rolled, handcrafted, fresh squeezed ingredients with a dash of innovative deliciousness. So you could grab a little happiness at Wetzel. So I think I said fifth caller, 602-230-0620. All right, on this day is brought to you by G2G Protein Bars. 1987, a crowd of over 52,000. At the time, the largest in NBA history, turned out at Pontiac Silverdome to watch the Pistons beat the 76ers, 125-107. It was just a huge game. They broke a bunch of records. And they didn't break the main record because that got they didn't hold it. They didn't get to keep that record because the next year they played against Boston and they did 61,983. That's a lot of people for a basketball game. I can't imagine anybody going to a basketball game now and there'd be that many.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, that's when the Pistons were all that, and then some Philadelphia. There's some great mid-'80s basketball going on. That was huge. I remember the second one. I remember the first one. But I went to the Silverdome, and after playing in the Silverdome a couple times against the Lions, it's like, oh, my gosh. I mean, I can't imagine the guys up in the rafters. How are you watching the basketball?
Well, I'll tell you when the Final Four and National Championship are in the State Farm, it's horrible.
Oh, I can imagine.
I mean, I've been in Tampa, St. Petersburg. I've been up in Syracuse. Some of these big-time, domes are horrible for basketball.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I'd have to have my binoculars watch. You have to watch the entire game with your binoculars.
Yeah, so
that'd just be hard to do.
Watch it on television. All right, last one for on this day in 2016, the first NBA All-Star game outside of the United States, and it was Kobe Bryant who was the All-Star game MVP as the West won 196-173 at Air Canada Center there in Toronto. Russell Westbrook, he had 31. As well as Paul George finished with 41.
First one to 200 wins, right?
Yeah.
I mean, literally 196-173. It just no defense, just get the ball, go down and score.
On this day, brought to you by G2G Protein Bars. You can find them in the refrigerator section at Costco and online at g2gbar.com. And right now, you can save 20% by using the keyword LOVE20. 20%. Go to g2gbar.com, keyword LOVE20. All right, football at 50. We're real close, and we're going to go a little early. The New York Football Giants are looking to sell up to 10% of their team. 10%. And this process will take a little while, but right now it looks as though the club is valued between $8.1 billion and $8.3 billion.
Wow, that's incredible. So if you've got a cool $800 million, we'll talk to you. Imagine betting some of the guys, or maybe a partnership comes together. If they're looking to sell one piece for 10%, or maybe there's multiple players up to 10%.
I mean, the validation is I know it sounds high, but based on the size of New York City alone, roughly 20 million people there, it makes some sense. Forbes had looked at the Philadelphia Eagles. That there was a little sale for a percentage back in December, and that was the range there was 6.6 to 7 billion, and Philadelphia's got 6 million.
Yeah.
So
well, I mean,
people, I should say.
It's interesting how the Mara family looks like they want to draw some equity out of their value. If it's currently on the appraised, as you mentioned, 8.2 billion, they can pull out 800 million, sell that piece off, and here you got 10% ownership and garner some of that money, use it for wherever, for improvements or the stadium. But that's very rare that owners will do that. Now, we saw a little bit of that with Mark Davis. He sold a small percentage to Tom Brady.
It's a no-brainer.
It's, for like, if you want to get your money back over a period of time, 5%, 10%.
I'd be curious if Michael Bidwell would do that. I know it's family-owned money. I mean, but just to have some new blood in there, a different perspective. Even if he's got 10%, but at least that 10%, you at least got a seat at the table.
I think Michael Bidwell is total control freak. I think he wants complete control.
Yeah.
Doesn't want somebody chirping in his ear that owns 10, 20%. Not that minority owners don't have a say. I mean, look at Green Bay. They're basically owned by people per se. And I remember it's probably 20 years ago when the Boston Celtics were selling off like these little shares. You paid $100 for whatever. But I think a lot of these guys are going, I just want to have complete control. But that was huge for Mark Davis to sell off any kind of percentage for the Raiders. Huge.
Get ready for it with all these private equity companies that are getting involved in team sports. Your portfolio, your 401k may have some professional teams in it, which would be pretty cool.
Can you imagine that?
Well, think about it. If you got a bunch of stock in the I don't know, the Charlotte Hornets, you're going to start rooting for them.
Sure.
You'll start sporting the jersey and having some fun with it.
You would love to invest if you'd love to see NFL go
4 minutes
to the stock market, but they're a 501c3. They're nonprofit. They're Rock. I remember that too.
I thought they got
Did that get
NFL?
Yeah,
I don't think they are anymore.
Did they get nixed?
I think that got changed.
Okay,
because we used to beat them up about breast cancer
all the time.
Like 3% of all the money that came in went to actual breast. Research,
research and awareness.
Yeah. So anyway, this is a different form of football, but the United Soccer League, the USL, that is where the Phoenix Rising play, and they've had a lot of success. Well, they have been given the green light to launch a Division I professional league to rival the MLS, which is the Major League Soccer. And this new competition is going to launch 2027 to 2028, and it'll operate as a separate league to MLS, and it'll be in markets that are ones that they have now, and then they'll try to get into some other markets that the MLS are not in. So the thought process here is some competition, and maybe to kind of get soccer to another level. We all know that when World Cup is in town, especially men, we're all excited about it. Of course, the World Cup is in 2026 with the U.S. and Canada and Mexico all co-hosting. That's going to be huge. And I'm sure this story will become even bigger as these leagues continue to grow. Minutes. But I'm anxious to see. I did put a call into the Phoenix Rising this morning, trying to get somebody to talk to, because I want to talk to somebody about this, because I think it's pretty cool. I'm a guy sitting there on the fence when it comes to soccer.
Sure.
I used to not like it, but now, when I went over to a premier game or match last year in Italy, I'm hooked. And just being around people that love that sport, it's hard not to once you understand it. And I think Jimmy said it best. You're just trying not to let the other team score. That's the whole part of it. Whereas we are all grown up to score. To be on the offense. When that sport is about just trying not to let anybody score. That's why when they do score, you see how crazy people get.
My question would be if they want to rival an MLS type league, if they go out and sign some of those top soccer players to play in their league versus going to the MLS. Say guys contracts up with the LA Galaxy. And this new league is going, hey, look, we can really get credibility if we go sign so-and-so away from LA since his contract's up. You know what I mean? Does that bring it to that point, becomes a rival league, somewhat what happened with the AFL and the NFL many, many years ago. All of a sudden you got guys going to the AFL and NFL, and eventually they merge.
I'm just wondering if to that's a good point, but if MLS and USL get into it where they can drop. So as somebody in the MLS could drop into that league, that's a big deal.
That'd be huge.
Drop, or you get promoted. You get to move into that league. So we'll see. We'll stay with it. And Nolan Rout, congrats! You are our Free Food Friday winner. Thanks to Wetzel's Pretzels. Well, last year the NBA All-Star Game reached an all-time low. The Eastern Conference defeated the Western Conference 211 to 186. What can be done to improve it? We have some ideas. Plus, we have officially crossed the line of stupidity as the state of Georgia has proposed a bill to eliminate over 5.5% of state income tax on NIL income. How about that? That is screwed up. We'll get into that next with Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B from Wright Toyota here on ESPN 620.
It's Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B now on ESPN 620, 98.7 FM HD2, and streaming live at arizonasports.com. The guys are powered by the law offices of Lerner and Rowe. In a wreck and need a check? Make one call, that's all. 602-977-1900. And now on your ESPN station in Phoenix, ESPN 620, Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B.
Start out at Wright Toyota, our home every Friday. Last year, the NBA All-Star Game, East beat the West 211-186. In 2018, 148-145. In 2020, 157-155. 2022, 163-160. Even the commissioner, Adam Silver, last year, you could see how he did not approve when he was giving the trophy presentation, when he was doing it. And for years, fans have been begging for a more competitive all-star atmosphere like it was in the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s.
When it meant something.
So this year, once again, they're going to alter the format. If you remember last year, they returned to the East-West format for the first time since 2017. The game was over at halftime. And for Sunday's game in San Francisco, you got the 24 All-Stars. They'll be divided into 3 teams of 8. And then the Rising Stars Championship, which will be tonight, will comprise of another squad in the 4-team mini tournament. Now, the winners of the semis will play in the final, and the first team to hit 40 points is the winner of each game. Now, the hope is that this new format will inject some competitiveness. I don't know if that's the case. They're hoping. But where it gets a foul to me is they announced that Kevin Hart, the comedian, the actor, is going to be an on-court MC during the game. So he's going to provide commentary while plays unfold. How can you be serious when you got a guy, making fun of everybody?
I agree.
So I think that's nuts because I know the league wants the players to take this to be serious, but when you got a guy making jokes during a game, I can't see that going well.
Yeah.
I love Kevin Hart. Don't get me wrong. And maybe it's a little too much Kevin Hart right now. I think you see him everywhere now. He's doing games. He's doing NFL games. He's trying to be like the Mannings. I mean, he's doing all kinds of stuff.
The thing is, let's not get silly with it. I understand where they're trying to go with this, make it more competitive. But when you have a Kevin Hart, if they're going to do anything with them, maybe in between the games, there's a break. Kevin Hart comes on or something like that. I mean, that's so they want to make it entertaining but serious.
It's too late.
What are you going to do? It's serious, entertaining, because fans are going to turn it off one way or the other.
So I have a couple solutions to try to make the game more competitive.
All right.
First, one of the biggest reasons why the last few games have been historically bad is the effort.
Mm-hmm.
The effort. Guys aren't running back.
No.
It's just, they're throwing bombs. They're just dunks, shooting threes. I think they should make it a half-court game. Make it a half-court game where you basically take a page out of the big three. Remember Ice Cube founded that league? It's been a massive hit. Now, it's got retired NBA players in it, but it kind of resembles a pickup game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the pickup style format would definitely make this game more entertaining. You would see some really cool plays out there. I think that would be one way to make it really, really fun. Now, if you got to do a format where you got to take the 24 players and you got to split them up in 6 teams of 3, whatever it is, and then have it play out that way, that may be cool. And that's where you could bring in the entertainment aspect where Shaq and Barkley and those guys can actually do the draft. But to have, say, 6 teams of 4, or I think it's probably got to be 3 teams, right, or 3 players on a half court. But I think you can make it work. It's 8 teams. Who cares? It'd be fun. Yeah, and they're 10-minute games.
How many times we see the fast break with no defense back? I mean, guys get the rebound, and it goes about, they just get it down the court, layup. This way.
That's all it is. It's fast breaks.
It's all it is. Fast breaks. Now,
guys jogging back.
You got to get the ball back beyond the close to the half court line and set a play up. How about running a play in an all-star game versus somebody hoisting it? But if it is, would it be 5-on-5 or 3-on-3? Did you say 5-on-3?
3.
Okay, 3-on-3. I would go with that. Makes it more interesting. Makes it more. All right, now you have to be more competitive. There's not as many things you can do with a 3-on-3.
Another idea, and they've done some of this about 5 years ago. They introduced the target score format. Now that was basically in the fourth quarter. Would be a number, right, and that would be kind of a replacement to the game clock. When both teams know what the score is, I think keeping that target. All right, you got to reach 40 or 50 or 60, whatever the number is, the first one. Just like it's a pickup game with us.
Sure.
We would play the best of 10, right? Win by 2.
Yep.
Something like that, and I think that would maybe create some competitiveness. What do you think?
I think so. I like that. Anything that has something tied to it versus a free-for-all. I mean, at that point, guys go, hey, we're down by 2. It's whatever. It's 15-13. We go in by 2. We only got 2 minutes. So they're going to have to really, work at it. Now, again, is this based on half court or is this be more full court, that one there?
That one would be a full court.
Okay.
However, I would love to make it have. Hey, half court's where I'm going, but
Sure.
it can't. I don't think it's going. I mean, you could work with that absolutely. And then my last one would be to go the half court, but have the players represent their conferences and their divisions. Try to create a sense of pride in who they play for.
Right.
So, I mean, I remember growing up when I used to love watching the All-Star game. I hate the West. I grew up in East fan.
Sure, yeah.
Couldn't stand the Lakers. Couldn't stand Portland. Couldn't stand anybody. Phoenix. Couldn't stand anybody in the West. It brings some of that back, where Phoenix is playing with guys from the Lakers and with Portland and Denver and Utah or whatever. And I think that format would be cool because you could balance out the talent pool on each team and have some competitiveness.
Let me throw a couple at you, Ross, so you like them. I think you limit the 3-point shooting. I think 20 per game. I'm sorry, 20 per half.
So you're capping it, not limiting.
Yeah, I'm capping. I'm sorry, I'm capping it. So if you use your 20 3-point shots in the first half, and then now you're down by 10, you gotta. It's all about mid-range shots now. So there's a limit per half. So 20, cap 20 per half. The other one is eliminate the fast break. You have to come down, you have to set it up, and you got to run a play. Because I watched that game last year, rebound, kick it out, one guy, next guy, nobody's getting back on defense. It's a layup show, or somebody's coming down. The guys are hoisting 3-point shots. There's still 3 guys back in the backcourt. So you're like, wait a second. They don't even care. Nobody's hustling. Really, nobody's running. All right, you 2 or 3, you guys go down the court, kick it out to them. If you make your 3-pointer, fine. If you get a slam dunk, fine. So I said, cap your 3-point in the game.
All right, but I'm looking at the average what the NBA 3-point attempts are per game. Boston leads
55
at 48.
Yeah.
And the low is Denver at 31.
Okay, so
I think you got to go 40.
Well, okay, whatever. Just cap it, whatever. If it's 25 or whatever. But at that point, if you use all your 3-point shots up and you got 3 minutes in a game and you're down by 7, hey, sorry, here you go. You nothing but mid range. And the other thing too is if you eliminate the fast break, I think the scores will be more of a 125.
How do you eliminate a fast break?
Well, you got to come down, set up. You get a rebound. You got to set up a play every time you come down on the other side.
2 minutes.
Can you guys guess how many 3-pointers were shot in last year's All-Star game?
I'm going to say
total
61.
I would probably say I'll go 70-ish.
168 attempted
Total. Okay, I thought per team.
So
okay, total.
That's where I get what you mean about the 3-pointer, but I think that kind of adds flair when guys like Steph Curry shoot it from beyond.
I do like
80
that.
feet.
Yeah.
I like that aspect of it, but 168 it's a lot. It's a little maybe too much.
Over 80 per team.
But what's been the
Manuch puts a cap at 20.
Yeah, each team shot 140, 140 field goals.
Got to start somewhere.
I'm just looking for a way to.
It's not a bad idea.
No, just make it interesting. The guys got to come down. They got to set it up. They got to run a play. Oh my gosh, what a novel concept! They got to run a play, especially in the All-Star game. And Adam Silver's bemoaning the fact that hey, something's got to change. And all the fans that are out there. Reason why they're not watching the NBA, it's nothing but a 3-point shooting contest.
But it's every All-Star game ever besides MLB. There's always an issue, and it's never going to get solved.
Well, let me say this. Before, as Rock was saying, it was competitive. They came down, played defense. Especially the last 5 minutes of an All-Star game. That was the fun time. It was play deep. They set up plays. They go down low, kick it out. Yeah, they made it close. But now it's just a shooting fest. So I feel like you got to come down, you got to run a play, and you're capped at your threes.
Maybe there needs to be more money at it. Some of it's supposed to go to charity, but anyway. Real quick, in wake of Inside the NBA being licensed from TNT Sports to ESPN, Shaquille O'Neal is not going anywhere, as according to Front Office Sports, he has agreed to an enormous long-term deal with TNT Sports. Do you know what that number is, Manuch?
Oh man, I'll say it's
per year.
I'm going to say it's a 10-year. I'm going to say it is.
I don't know how many years. I just know what it is per year.
I'm going to say he's going to make $75 million a year.
What?
No,
you want to try again?
All right, I'll say 25 per year.
No, all right, never mind. This was I did
25 per year.
No, it's like 15. It's 15.
Oh, I would think I think of what Tom Brady's making for Fox. Look at the numbers he's making, his big numbers. So
I don't even think he's
Good to
making
wrap.
75 a year.
He's making 30. I thought it's 300. I thought it's 300.
$75 million a year.
well, it's Shaq. It's a big Shaq.
Shaq's making 15.
Yeah.
I know. I'm just in
Barkley
awe.
was making 10.
Yeah, a little facetious there about the sound. I don't know, some
No,
astronomical.
you were just wrong.
Yeah, I just figure it's got to be an astronomical number to keep Shaq under wraps. 15 a year, pretty damn good.
So, as a society, and some of you are part of it, and a lot of you are not, we have officially crossed the line of stupidity. The state of Georgia has proposed a bill to eliminate a 5.49% state income tax on NIL income. Alabama has followed suit. We're going to talk about that next. You're listening to ESPN 620, 98.7 HD2, and we're streaming live at ArizonaSports.com.
I was in a wreck. I need a check.
On the corner, right on the price. Wright Toyota, located at 77th Street and Frank Lloyd Wright Boulevard in Scottsdale. Now back to the guys on ESPN 620.
Hope you have a great.
Howard sitting back there with time to throw. See the backers are moving. And they come. Heavy pressure. Howard delivers downfield. It's Smith. He's got it.
Making Mike's hot.
Iron Smith hadn't had a touch in the second half until that potential game clincher. First down at the 10.
That was Jeremiah Smith, the 56-yard reception on that 3rd and 11 to clinch it for Ohio State in the national championship over Notre Dame. Welcome in, Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B from Wright Toyota, right on the corner, right on the price, Wright Toyota. Speaking of college football, we've crossed the line of stupidity. As I mentioned, going to break, the state of Georgia has proposed a bill to eliminate 5.49% state income tax on NIL, on the NIL income. Alabama followed suit. Seriously, what are we doing here? Now, it's one thing to do right by the players. I think a lot of us all agree. Let them earn their money on name, image, and likeness. I have no problem with that. But it's another to take it this step further, where they're already getting free movement, which means free movement, free player movement, that is, where they can go anywhere they want, as many times as they want, right? I mean, come on. Now they're tax exempt, tax-free shelters? WTF. Yeah. What is wrong with people? What is wrong with these so-called pom-pom waivers, these politicians that have decided that the players should not be taxed? Let's just look what an 18-year-old football player gets when he enters college. This is when he just walks into college, all right, as a football player. He gets a fully funded scholarship, includes room and board and tuition and books. He gets health insurance. He gets dental insurance. He gets disability insurance in case, of course, a career-ending injury. He gets a competitive salary beginning July 1st because of pay and play now. He gets guaranteed NIL deals because of the collectives at some of these schools. All right. He gets elite training. He gets development from that training with some of the top coaches, sports nutritionists all over the world. He gets the free movement from school to school that I mentioned. And now, at least in Georgia and Alabama, it looks as though they will not have to pay tax on the money that they are making. Now, this is so much deeper than just paying players for NIL. It's more than that. It's more than just kids being paid to play a sport. What is this message for us as adults, as parents, as high school coaches, college coaches, university presidents, the NCAA? This isn't reality in life. What message is this sending to an 18-year-old, a young man who has been glad-handed all his life because he's pretty good, he's athletic, and he can play at the next level? But the numbers are this. 98.4% of college football players will make it to the NFL. Now, there is a slice of that they're going to be able to play professional football somewhere. Maybe it's arena or whatever. But eventually, they need to get a job, a real job, one that offers no free passes, no special treatment, no entitlement, and one that earns you money to pay for rent. You're going to have a budget, hopefully. You need to eat. You need to prepare food. You got to wash your own damn clothes. You got to get up every morning with a plan, with a purpose. You got to meet deadlines. I mean, I go on and on. But we're taking away accountability. We're taking away responsibility. And here they are, 4 or 5 years. They get to live large. But then when that comes to an end, what do they fall back on? What are we doing here? Are we going to continue to entitle these athletes? I mean, I understand all those things I said originally about getting the free ride and all that. But now you're getting NIL money. And some of these guys are making $1 million and you don't have to pay tax on it. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to get in politics, but it's reality in the world we live in. Absolutely. Right or left. There is something wrong with that. Whereas there's other 18-year-olds that are working at a fast food place or busting their butts that are getting so much money out of their check taken out. And these guys are playing a sport and they're making stupid money. They're getting everything else and they don't have to pay tax.
Yeah, and they're probably in the 30% income tax bracket, making say $1 million. Yeah. So they don't have to pay more than that. Yeah, they're close to 35, maybe 40%. They don't have to pay their $350,000. They can just skate on that. Here's the other thing I look at when you were talking about Alabama and Georgia, 2 football powers, 2 competing for recruits, right? Competing in that realm. I look at this and go, so if this passes and your Alabama head football coach, hey, look, guess what? You're going to make $1 million a year, no taxes. Yeah. So I gross it up. That's like $1.4 million if I gross it up. Is Ohio State doing that? Is Wisconsin doing that? So I look at this clearly, Rock, as somebody got to somebody in the legislature and say, hey, look, here's a bill.
I call them pom-pom waivers.
Exactly. Going, hey, look, if I want Alabama to go ahead and win that national title, we got to think of something with this NIL. We're not going to tax them. Oh, and then Auburn got wind of it. Georgia got wind of it and said, oh, okay, what you can do, I can do better. So I look at this, Rock, it smells of nothing but a recruiting ploy, recruiting tactic.
That's why I want to bring it up.
Yeah, that's a $1.4 million gross up.
There are these boosters that were sitting in a dive bar in Georgia, and they're sitting around, and they have all the money in the world, and they have the ear to a politician, and here they are, they create this legislature.
Yeah.
And
5 minutes.
They run a bill. They set up a bill.
They set up a bill.
Yeah.
And if it passes,
yeah.
Again,
Okay,
like I said, we crossed the line in the sand of complete stupidity on just reality. I mean, where is that? Where is the common sense?
Okay, so let me put my IRS hat on. Okay, state taxes, you're fine. Feds, hey, Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, we want our state. We need our federal tax. So if it's 30% total, we want our 10%. You can waive your 15%, but we want our 5% or 10, whatever it is.
Yeah.
The feds are still going to want their tax. They're just not going to let you skate and say, well, no tax. That's for your state tax.
Okay.
But for the feds, we still want our share. So, hey, Mr. Quarterback, don't spend your $1 million all in one spot because you're going to eventually owe taxes.
And also know that these NIL deals they're probably all going to be LLCs.
Sure.
So they're going to incorporate themselves. So they're going to write off all this anyway. I think it's just ugly.
So you bring another one since it's tax season. And I'm going to go see our in about 3 weeks.
Yeah, 602-230-0620 to help us out here.
Yeah. I mean, so if you're a 1099, you're a corporation and you're a 1099.
You're an individual.
You're an individual contract. You're a corporation.
You're an S corp. You're an LLC. Whatever you may be.
You laid out what these young men or young ladies get. Their scholarship fee. Blah 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 blah. The other side of that could be okay. If you want to negate their NIL tax, we're going to tax you based on what you're getting as a gift. So let's say that their scholarship money for the year, room board.
$50,000.
Let's say it's $50,000.
Yeah.
So we're going to tax you on that. So there's a way around. So we're going to tax to say you're going to have to pay $15,000-$20,000 on your 50. So you can't have your cake and eat it with this situation.
Well, I don't know, Manuch, because it'll take a good year for them to catch up. So if this gets passed, they'll go a whole year before the government can figure out a way to do what you just said.
Well, I would just tell these young men and ladies, save your money or put money aside for taxes because there's no way.
There's come on. We all know. Come on, you're 20, you're 18, 19 years old.
Well, if
you think you got your whole life ahead of you, you're going to be like, why do I need to I'm going to go out and buy a Mercedes. I'm going to go out and buy this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to buy all all the bling.
Well, if the tax shelter is 5.8%, and you owe, let's say you're in that bracket of, let's say 30%, you're still going to owe 24.2% of the money. They're just going to let you shelter 5.8%. That's still a huge chunk of money. So, but again, remember, Uncle Sam's going to still want their fair share, whatever that is, for the FICA, and then you got your state taxes. But Rock, this is a total recruiting ploy. It smells of it. It reeks of it.
It's clear that
total recruiting ploy.
Yeah.
Hey,
pretty obvious.
Yeah. If we're going to give you $1 million and you're in the 30%, you're only going to have to pay 25% because we're going to get 5.8 as a tax shelter, and they pass it. So it's a total recruiting ploy. Totally. Hey, 5-star in Oregon. Hey, in Oregon, you got to pay 45% up there versus 30.
You get the two big states, of course, big SEC states. And if it these two go, Mississippi's going to follow,
Louisiana
going to follow. I mean, it's like it's going to happen.
Yeah. And I also saw this week
if
that
this goes through, hopefully there'll be enough smart people that say, okay, all right, enough is enough.
Well,
geez, what else do we want to give these kids?
This story, I read a story on Tuesday where SEC representatives and Big Ten representatives were in D.C. going to the Congress talking about the NIL, how they could get it enhanced and how they can have the players continue to make the money. It was a big scenario where they were going to allow this. They needed Congress to pass a couple bills where the school's in total control. And as the SEC guys were walking out, they saw the Big Ten guys that were also there. But a lot of this can deal with what they're talking about is antitrust violations. Mm-hmm. So you get the feds and Congress thinking, well, okay, if we can make this work and that work, in the SEC, in the Big Ten, and again, other conferences will follow. NCAA will be out of this thing. I think within a couple of years, they'll be out of it.
Coming up next, we'll catch up with sports handicapper Scott Spreitzer of DocSports.com. But first, here's Jax with your latest local 620 sports update.
Time to Roc and Manuch, bottom of the hour, ESPN 620 Sports update, sponsored by Twin Peaks Sweethearts Day. I'm Jackson Brown. The Arizona State Sun Devil and 3 Arizona Wildcats are among 329 players invited to the 2025 NFL Draft Combine. ASU represented by standout running back Cam Scatterboot, while Arizona's invitees include projected first-round pick and wide receiver Federer McMillan, offensive lineman Jonah Sayabinaya, and kicker Tyler Lue. It's a Sweethearts costume party today at the Five Valley Twin Peaks location. Scenic Views are calling you to Sweethearts Day. Swing by for scenic views wrapped in red and steal your heart specials at Sweethearts Day at Twin Peaks. That's Twin Peaks, Five Valley location. Come on out to Sweethearts Costume Party. Enjoy their special.
Craving tacos? There's one spot in town that everyone can't stop talking about. The taco spot.
With Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B on ESPN 620.
All right, Scott, let's go back to last Sunday. And how did you do? How did you do in the Super Bowl?
I was very, very happy, guys. I had my biggest play was Jalen Hurts to score a touchdown any time in the game. And, we handicapped it right to a T. We knew that the touchdown pass would be overturned and marked at the 1 foot line. Kidding about that, obviously. But once it was marked at that 1 foot line with about 7 minutes to go in the opening quarter, you knew the shove was coming, and he scored there. So we cashed 2 props on that one play with Jalen Hurts scoring the touchdown, and I had under 1.5 yards for the shortest touchdown. So at that point, with like 6 or 7 minutes to go in the first quarter, there was no way I could lose money, which was really nice. And we ended up going 4-1 altogether. Had the Eagles as a play also. The one loss I had was that the game would be tied after 0-0, and Philly made sure there was no chance of that. But very happy 4-1 Super Bowl.
Did Vegas have a record payout like in Pennsylvania? Record payout there with the gambling there?
I was doing a show, and there was a sportsbook director on the other day, I think it was Wednesday, and they were talking about the Super Bowl betting being a little bit down from what they expected it to be this year. And I think that was just a case of, people used to root for Mahomes and KC all the time when they first started making these Super Bowls, and now it's like they've just grown kind of weary and tired of it. And we, again, according to this one sportsbook director, he was saying that it didn't reach expectations this year. I don't think they're going to have that problem next year, guys. And just a real quick opinion this early is that, if Andy Reid sticks around another 5 years, if Patrick Mahomes is with them another 5 years, they got a good shot to get back, I think, 2 to 3 years down the road. They got a lot of holes on that team. They won 12 games by 1 score this year. And that was one of the reasons I backed the Eagles. It's just tough to sustain that kind of winning rate, obviously, when all the games are coming right down to the wire. So, left tackle, some offensive line issues. They need a running back. They need a breakaway wide receiver to get behind defensive backs. There's a lot to shore up this offseason, so I don't think they'll make it back next year.
I noticed the line changed the day of 1.5 to 1. At least we were doing our show and the sports book at Weekapaw where we were. Basically, because I got it on DraftKings 1.5, then it went to 1, and I bought it at Weekapaw. What would have made it change like that?
Just the amount of money that was coming in, respected money. There were sportsbook directors last Wednesday, for instance, 9 days ago, that thought Philly was going to become a 1-point favorite. And I kind of, on air had mentioned that I thought it would get to pick them, but Philly wouldn't become the favorite. And last Friday night, the Circa here in town, which takes every bet, doesn't matter if you want to bet 6 figures, 7 figures, they're usually going to take it. They had gotten all the way down to a pick. And then overnight it went back up to 1 KC. So it was a lot of sharp, respected money right from the get-go. Because remember, the books that opened that number had KC 2.5, and it got hit right away by sharp money jumping on Philadelphia. And those of us who have been doing this for a long time were all on the Eagles. It was just, the metrics, Saquon, being added to this team, the offensive line. My number one reason for backing Philly last week, guys, and a lot of sharps that I talked to, was the fact that they don't have to blitz to get to the quarterback.
Yes,
they don't have to gamble, so they're not sending an extra pass rusher and leaving somebody open, a tight end over the middle or a wide receiver gets deep. And they just got to, they got to Mahomes constantly out of a regular 4-man pass rush. I think they blitzed 3 whole times the entire game.
Yeah, it was interesting to see that 4-man rush the entire game, and then for Pat Mahomes. For as far as in-game betting, when you're down 24-zip at half, did that change much, or was there a change one way or the other with the Chiefs and or Eagles for in-game in the second half?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because KC in every Super Bowl they played in, they get behind sometimes 10-0.
Yes.
And so all of a sudden you saw some people making some moves, jumping on KC in game, and still even at 17-0, but the dagger. And it did change the number, obviously, and it changed people's mindset on not betting KC anymore, was when Mahomes threw that interception late in the first half, and then Philly scored on a touchdown pass to A.J. Brown. They got up 24-0, and it was like the writing was on the wall. There was no feeling of a Tom Brady come from behind 28-3 against Atlanta type of Super Bowl. They just looked confused and dead, on the field. And so the change did happen at 10-0. Where the numbers, started showing that, hey, we should jump on KC here, and at 17-0, but at 24-0, it was just like everybody had decided that was it, game over.
Scott Sprecher with us, DocSports.com. You follow him on Twitter at Scott Wins here on ESPN 620 Phoenix. All right, last time Houston and Arizona met, it was the 2022 Sweet 16, and the Cougars stunned the Cats, and they advanced. Now we fast forward 3 years. They're two powerhouses in the conference. They're now conference rivals. What do you see happening? This is a good one tomorrow, Cougars and Wildcats. How you handicapping this?
Some of the books that have popped up with a number have Houston 1.5 in this one. It's a battle of styles. There are 364 college basketball teams at this level, and guys, Houston plays at the fourth slowest tempo, 360th in the nation. And then you got Arizona, who loves to get the ball at the floor, get their shots off relatively early in the shot clock. They're top 40 in tempo. So whichever team can establish their style, since there is such a big dichotomy, should be a big advantage for that team. I like Arizona this game, guys. They're 18th and 14th in offensive and defensive adjusted efficiency, and they really don't get enough credit for their defensive play. They're decent against the three, and Houston shoots the three well, but they rarely shoot it. They're like, they just don't put it up that much. They also don't get to the free throw line, which bothers me come March. They're 337th in free throw to field goal attempt ratio. They've gotten away with it because they are men among boys when you see this team on the floor, and they know to play to their strengths because of a great coach. But I think it catches up to them here. I like Arizona in this contest.
Auburn, Alabama, 1-2. When does this football game start? I mean, I'm just curious to see. We've never. This is a first. I mean, think about that, a first. And I'm just very curious to see how much does that play in the Bama being favored by 1.5 with this game.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised. A lot of guys, like I was doing a show on Wednesday or maybe yesterday, and we were talking about this game, and there's some odds makers around the country. We had one of them on our show who thought
about 3 minutes.
They have. So it's not a big deal, but still thought Auburn would come a little bit of a favorite. So we got a track meet here, guys. We got the second quickest tempo in Alabama. Auburn doesn't play at that kind of pace, but they will oblige with a quicker tempo if the other team's playing to that speed. The two teams that knocked off Auburn, Duke and Florida, both stifled Auburn when it came to their two-point shooting. This team makes 56% of their twos, and they're number one in offensive efficiency, but they were held to 48% two-point shooting by both Duke and Florida. And then the three teams that beat Bama, Purdue, Oregon, and Ole Miss, all shut down Bama's three-point shooting. You look at Auburn, strong on the defensive end, but guys, I don't think Nate Oates at Alabama gets enough credit for his defensive coaching because you see a lot of 102 to 90 type of games, but those defensive numbers and metrics are actually much better than what you see as far as average points given up. They own a height advantage at the rim. They've got three players at 6'11" or thereabouts. And going back to Auburn's loss to Florida, the Gators were able to get a few second chances. They grabbed 11 or 12 offensive boards. Alabama's 15th in offensive rebounding. Auburn is 224th in second chance conversion points allowed. I think Alabama comes through with the win here, guys.
It's interesting. The over-under is 172, Scott. That's high for a college basketball game. So first one to 95 or first one to 100 wins this?
Yeah, we might have to make it first one to 100. This is like UNLV of the Tarkanian years, That's what I like about Bama. And again, they're going to score a ton of points. They're going to give up some points, but they score and give up a lot because of their tempo, and their defensive numbers and metrics are better than what you would expect from a team that gives up a lot of points.
Do you have a line for ASU TCU yet for tomorrow?
No line yet, but the power ratings say that ASU should be about a 6.5 to 7 point favorite.
Okay.
And those lines, like we talked about, Auburn, that game, and the game before, the big games like that already have those lines set. But 6.5 to 7, right around that neighborhood, ASU should be favored. It's been a tough stretch for the Sun Devils, 2-9 the last 11. But I don't think a lot of casual fans know that Arizona State has played the 7th toughest schedule in college basketball thus far this season. They've had tough losses. They led Central Florida with about 6 minutes to go and lost an OT to Baylor, lost by a point to your Kansas State Wildcats. Win those 3 games, they're 15-9, and they're alive for the dance right now. I think they get healthy here. TCU's horrible on the offensive end. They can't shoot the 2. They can't shoot the 3. They can't shoot a free throw. The only problem that I have, or the caveat, would be that Arizona State tends to commit too many turnovers. But TCU is the lowest power-rated team to visit Tempe since Colorado.
Feel free to start repping whenever.
I don't know that Arizona State's going to win by 20 like they did back then, but I do believe they get the win and cover here on Saturday.
All right, let's squeeze one more in. We got less than a minute. Creighton,
Okay.
St. John's. Creighton, St. John's. So you like?
There's already a number out for this Sunday game. It's 4.5 St. John's. I think it's too short. I think it's going to come higher by the time the lines come out tomorrow afternoon for this game. Real quick on this one, guys. I went with 45-1 St. John's. That's where they were about a month ago. They're down anywhere from 20 to 30-1 now. I still think they're a team that you can use for hedge reasons when we get to the Elite Eight if they get that far. The one thing they don't do, they don't shoot the three because they're bad at it. And I love Pitino not letting his team shoot the three. Then they come out the other night against Villanova. They shoot 37 three-pointers, and they only made 11. They lost by 2. So I think Pitino is going to have something to whine about or yell about. They're going to get focused for Creighton, who's not at the level of past editions of Creighton. And I like St. John's to get their revenge here for a 1-point loss in Omaha. Again, I think this number is going to be 6, and I think St. John's covers.
Good stuff. Scott, as always, buddy, have a great weekend. Good luck.
You two guys, take care, man.
Scott Spreitzer, DocSports.com. Follow him on Twitter at Scott Wins. And, boy, he loves college basketball.
Sure does.
He breaks that down. And for him, I'm curious because the line for Creighton St. John's is -4.5 St. John's. So I'm anxious to see if it does get to 6, like he said. So grab it when you can, huh? All right, coming up, we'll break down what do we got? Our locks of the weekend. We'll have that coming up as we are out here at Wright Toyota. It's Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B. Well, kind of here on ESPN 620.
Twin Peaks is
Baseball Diamond. Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B give their locks of the weekend to help put some money in your pockets. Now, the locks.
All right, let's go back to last week. Sure, you
I
do.
was going to say, I feel like you should recap last week, Rock. I feel like I should no longer recap.
You know that
Rock's on a roll, man.
I was extremely confident
You were?
in the Super Bowl. I mean, like, not worried at all.
You were ready to put your mortgage on the thing, weren't you?
I wouldn't do that. But I was
Not that
completely confident.
Yeah, you were dialed.
Even when Jax interviewed me before the our Week of Paw event, our Watch You Win party. By the way, if you went to it, we appreciate you. Thanks for coming. We had a great showing, and well, you'll hear some new news here hopefully soon. But yeah, I didn't care what the spread was. Didn't matter. I was taking Eagles to lock last week, and it looks like I was the only one to win.
Yeah, you
were.
were.
Just for the sake of
Go
it,
ahead,
we got the time.
Yeah, break it down.
Yeah, might as well. Well, what's crazy too is your projected score 30-22. The final score was 40-22. So you got half of it right. You were up by 10 points, which is pretty impressive. But Rock, his lock was Eagles money line. He's 13-7-1, our leader. In second place, me, Jax 12-9. I had Chiefs money line alongside Connor, who's 2-3. And dead last, 9-12. Manuch had Cavaliers minus 17.5 over the Wizards, which did not cover.
Yeah, how about that? Yeah, this is Wizards, the lowly Wizards.
It's a big spread, Manuch.
Yeah, I know it was. I just figured the Cavs would just be all over them in a big way. But suffice to say, didn't happen one way or the other.
All right, let's turn our attention to this week. That's why I asked Scott Spreitzer about the ASU TCU, which it's got to be somebody I could call. Why does it take so long to get a line?
I don't know. It's kind of like
it's the day before the game. It's 20-something hours.
It's not as if they have anybody that's questionable for, at least I know for ASU. I know everybody's pretty much all hands on deck.
So because the line's not there, I'm going to go with the number he said, which was 6.5, which sounds maybe right. I don't know. So I will take ASU beating TCU and cover the 6.5.
Well, especially when they took Texas Tech, a ranked team, into double overtime. That probably makes a lot of sense. I'm going to go with Arkansas at number 8. Texas A&M. A&M's getting minus 8.5. A&M to cover, but it's going to be tough sledding. I know it's a high line. Arkansas has won 3 out of their last 4, but A&M is on a roll. They've won 6 of their last 7. They're playing good basketball right now. But Arkansas, Coach Calipari, after starting off very slow, has won 3 of the last 4. So that's a flyer. I'm going to go minus 8.5. A&M to cover that one.
I'm going to stick with college basketball. Scott Spreitzer said it best. I think it's Alabama team. They're playing their best basketball right now. It's at home, rivalry game. Mark Sears and the boys are starting to go up. And Auburn maybe leaking some oil last week, losing to Florida by a lot at home. I like Alabama to win this. They were my preseason national championship team, and they're playing hot right now. Connor?
I think I'm going to stay in college basketball here with you guys. As much as the people down south in Tucson don't want to hear it, I'm going Houston money line, taking the Cougars over the Wildcats this weekend.
It's going to be a hell of a game.
Really?
I mean, that noon o'clock tip off.
I just bet on DraftKings Arizona.
I like
because of what Scott said.
I like Houston too.
Yeah, just don't know which
damn
Wildcat
tough.
team's going to show up.
Well, you know which Caleb Love's going to show up.
Well, he plays on that team.
I mean, he's hoisting
I'll
threes
give
out
you-
the wazoo and now not making them all.
Give you guys a little reasoning. You know, we talked to Steve Rivera this week. We talked to Ryan Hansen. You know, this team right now, they've had a struggle to find somebody who's going to be their go-to scorer. Just last game out against K-State, their leading scorer was KJ coming off the bench with 15. I think you're going against a really good defensive team in Houston, so somebody's going to have to step up if Arizona wants to win that game.
They're also, I was reading that Houston's really deep this year, that they don't miss a beat when guys come up in his rotation right now too. So I don't know if they can hang in there for a half and going into the last 3 or 4 minutes of the game, they got a pretty good shot. But I think it'll be raucous group down there at McHale, and maybe the Cats can pull it off. They need to pull it off to show themselves. I think America that they can go hang with the big boys in the Big 12 and win this game after having to struggle to lose at K-State.
Speaking of ASU and TCU, and this wasn't on the lineup, Connor, so I'm doing a little audible here. I would like to give away 2 4-packs of tickets to see the Devils tomorrow. 5th and 6th caller, 602-230-0620. How about that? So 602-230-0620 if you want to go see Arizona State tomorrow, take on TCU, Big 12 basketball. you hear Bobby, you hear everybody talk. They got to get some people there.
Yes.
And let's just help, and that's what we could do. So we have 2 4-packs right now, 5th and 6th caller, and they will be emailed to you direct.
Like to see the Devils get a win because I believe on Tuesday they got Houston coming in town. That'd be very difficult to win that. But yeah, I tell you what, that Devils team taking Texas Tech to double overtime, and to see the kid block that layup by Texas Tech to go into double overtime showed me a lot about the Sun Devil team. So hopefully they can beat that game, beat Houston. I mean Houston, but beat Texas TCU tomorrow night. And who knows what can happen against Houston? Highly doubt it, but I don't know. Maybe U of A whoops up on them Cougars down there in Tucson, and they come into Tempe, and maybe the Sun Devils help return a favor.
Then Houston in town.
Yep, on Tuesday.
That would be interesting if they would fall to Arizona, and Arizona.
Imagine that.
But I thought Scott had an interesting take on the fact that Arizona State's had the 7th toughest schedule in all of basketball.
Yeah,
no one's mentioned that.
Yeah, I missed that one. I mean, admittedly, I know they played a hell of a schedule. The Big 12 is a hell of a schedule. So when you look at the Big 12 and the ranked teams that they've had to play, the Iowa States of the world, the KUs, Texas Techs, and now you got Houston coming in, and you look at that from the beginning. My question for Graham Rossini as the athletic director, with this schedule and the way this team has stayed close in games, is that going to be a determining factor how they were competitive? And I would say most of these games, it would have been a hell of an upset to beat Tech there in Lubbock. How much he takes that in consideration, either moving Bobby Hurley forward or not. And tougher conference. So, there's going to be a lot to weigh in. And I think Graham Rossini right now, the way this Sun Devil team, 7 games to go, will determine the fate of one Bobby Hurley on how well they played and looking at the future moving forward. Because Rock, they're going to have to pay to keep the 2 kids, and they're going to have to pay to get some other top-notch, recruits in to help keep this thing going. And to pay that kind of money and to see these kind of results, especially in the conference, does not bode very well for where this Sun Devil program is going.
We had some good news today for those of you that have YouTube TV. As we talked yesterday about a challenge that Google's YouTube TV had with Paramount Global. Well, they've agreed on a short-term contract extension late last night. So this will keep CBS and other networks available to distribute. YouTube TV, the customers are about 8 million, and there was a chance that they would lose a bunch of networks. And if it kept going, it would have affected the NCAA tournament on CBS and the Masters. So there would have been a blackout. So that's been averted for now.
Well, that's good to hear, because there's so many people I talk to, and they've got YouTube TV. That's what they pretty much have.
A lot of people have
2.5.
Yeah,
Jack says it, right?
Yeah. And so it sounded like, wow, if they would have
stand it. I literally hate it.
Well,
it is the worst streaming service.
I think it's the best.
I hate it.
I think it's super easy.
I think it's so hard to get around, to navigate. You don't have Channel 3. You can't watch Suns games. I mean, come on. Seriously, now is it going to be Diamondbacks too? You're not going to be able to watch Diamondbacks either?
Well,
seriously, that alone, if you're a sports fan, you shouldn't have YouTube TV.
Well,
for that reason. And no Suns, no D-backs.
And then navigating, trying to go back and forth to games is just very, very difficult.
What?
2 minutes also.
It's not.
Well, I mean, if you
can have it on a multi-view. You can watch all 4 at once.
Well, I didn't know how to do that multi-view thing. For me, I've had to come out of it, go here, let's have another TV on.
Yes, Connor.
I got to come give Jack some defense here. I mean, if you are a sports fan, YouTube TV is the way to go. I know it sounds crazy, but you guys, I mean, the Sunday tickets, that way you can see any game, anytime, anywhere.
Yep.
And then plus, they have, like Jack said, the multi-view. You could have a basketball game on and a football game. Heck, maybe even watch a little golf down there. They got the options.
Great.
Have to figure that one out.
But I can't watch the Diamondbacks. I can't watch the Suns. I mean, if you're a fan of either of those 2 teams, you can't watch their games.
Yeah,
that sucks.
Yeah,
I mean, of course, people like Manuch, he doesn't watch the games. He tapes everything, so I can see that being okay. You're going to tape it anyway,
right?
But for something that is everything, it's in real time. I think you got to have it.
Yeah. Well, I know that. When I am home and I can watch the Suns and Diamondbacks together, I can go back last with Cox at least, go back and forth. But otherwise, yeah, I've got things taped. But that multi-view thing, huh? Maybe I could save $200 a month too on top.
Why?
Well, my Cox bill, get
Yeah,
that.
mine's 300.
Ours is 225.
I'm 300, but I also got the high speed.
Oh, okay.
But wait, how many boxes do you have? I have 3.
One.
You have one.
No,
one TV at your house?
We got 3 boxes. I'm sorry.
Jeez, I was like, dude,
1, 2,
your
3.
wife does wear the pants.
No, we got 3 boxes.
Wow. Hey, congratulations to Greg. He's heading to the ASU TCU game. Next hour, Super Bowl champion Mark May. He liked the Chiefs. See what he has to say today. Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B. ESPN 620.
On-air sports marketing presentation. It's Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B. Now on ESPN 620, 98.7 FM HD2, and streaming live at ArizonaSports.com. The guys are powered by the law offices of Lerner and Rowe. In a wreck and need a check? Make one call, that's all. 602-977-1900. And now on your ESPN station in Phoenix, ESPN 620, Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B.
We know you have choices. Thanks for popping in for a few minutes today, Roc, along with Manuch and Jax today at Wright Toyota in North Scottsdale. Very busy Wright Toyota on a Friday. I think when it rains, people want to spend money.
Well, yeah, come inside, get cozy and warm, and spend some money.
Still like 70 out there, right?
It's gorgeous. Yeah, clouds are building up, and it's supposed to clear up this afternoon completely, but no more. They said 20% chance of rain the rest of the afternoon, clearing up by tonight.
So a total of 329 players received invitations to the 2025 NFL Scouting Combine, which will be held next week, the 24th, so next Monday. And it'll run through the 3rd. Ohio State had the most invited players, 15. Georgia and Texas were tied for second at 14. And Oregon was at 12. And, every top prospect was invited. And Arizona State, which some have said, I've seen it, I think I saw in the Republic, saw it PH Sports, that they feel that the football team has been disrespected again because only one player was invited. And of course, that's Cam Scatterbo. No brainer. He was a first-team All-American, 1,700 yards plus. Of course, broke the single-season market. We can go on and on. I mean, the guy was a stud. But this team went to the Big 12 championship. He had to win over Ohio State. Unfortunately, had a playoff loss to Texas. You would think there would be some more players that would have been invited. Now, they don't have a lot of players who entered the draft anyway. You got 36 players right now, which has been reported that were on their two-deep roster. So that plays into it. But what about Simmons? I mean, that kid, he got invited to the East-West Shrine game. He was the most valuable player just 2 years ago. He was the defensive MVP last season.
Right.
I mean, I go through the numbers. But how's that guy not invited?
It's interesting. I know a lot of the combine, the guys at the combine looking, okay, first round to 6th or 7th round. I agree with you, Rock. Simmons is a hell of a player, hell of an athlete. And it's interesting when you see the guys that get invited that should go, why not invite them? Because a lot of these guys are relegated just to getting ready for their pro day. I know Tyler Shuck, Tyler got invited. He had a good game in the Senior Bowl last week. He gets invited, young man out of Hamilton High School. Was with Louisville. So it's like, what's an extra 2 or 3 guys in order to go ahead and get invited? So Simmons was a surprise. The whole thing with Cam Scatterbo, what did what's his name have him listed as far as like the 8th best running back in the nation as far as the draft was concerned? 8th best running back. And here's the guy who's just inside looking at the Heisman race. And I know there's some shifty, faster running backs, but as far as an overall running back, what he can do, I think Mel Kiper had him as the eighth overall running back. It just amazes to me what tape they're watching, what are they seeing. Now, him going to the combine might change a lot of scouts, might change their minds as far as positioning and his talent. Now, I know he did not go to the Senior Bowl because he was getting ready for the combine. I know he's trying to cut a little bit of weight, but getting bigger, stronger, faster, working on his 40 time. But you imagine that Kuiper's got him as the 8th best running back in all of America as far as the draft is concerned. I thought that was just a little surprising.
Yeah, so, you guys, I think, Jax, you guys follow that stuff, the combine stuff and these players, the draft. I don't follow that as much as I used to. There's just too many players to try to follow.
Well, and I love watching it.
You think of it, I think in Arizona had 3. So,
yeah.
I mean,
McMillan, the receiver.
Of course, he's a stud.
He's a stud. But, I enjoy watching just not so much from the skills and the talent, just the consistency. And for a lot of these guys, the majority of it, these scouts all know they can play. The majority of it is truly the interview. How do they react to the questions? Some stupid questions, by the way, that they ask them. But they're going to ask them, how consistent are they in their answers? How consistent are they in their workouts? They're looking for consistency at the next level for the National Football League. And so a lot of it is more weighted toward the interview process. They're going to check them out physically. They're going to make sure that everything is up to speed. You can bench press 225 pounds, 30, 40 times, whatever. All the tangibles will be on display, but it's really the intangibles that these scouts and a lot of these guys and coaches, I should say, really try to get to when these guys are back there in Indianapolis.
So you have it. NFL Combine.
Yeah. Hey, I'll be watching it. I'll go midnight before I hit the sack. I'll turn on NFL Network, watch it for about an hour. all right, where's the quarterbacks? I'll look for Tyler Shuck and look at how he's throwing the ball. By the way, he threw the ball very well at the Senior Bowl. I was watching a lot of his clips during the week. And on top of that, who's going to be the next guy who runs a 4.240? Can somebody break that 4.240? Will somebody ever run a 4.15 or a 4.19?
Who cares?
Who cares? So fast.
Who cares?
I do.
No,
it's fun to watch.
Put pads on.
Well, that's the whole thing. Yeah, and a lot of that is just okay. You make these NFL teams go. You check all the boxes physically and mentally for us. How do you look on tape? Are you aggressive? Can we count on you? So it's a combination of things from the combine to the tape to the interview. And these guys are putting a lot of time, effort, energy. And then on top of that, Rock, they have their pro day. So they got the combine. So they have the pro day. As a matter of fact, guys in years past have passed on the combine and just got ready for their pro day because there's just as many or quite a few scouts that will come on out to the pro day and see him. And so for a lot of guys that are going to be first rounders, they might do the combine, they might do the pro day. It's just they put so much time and effort and energy, that being the scouts, to make sure that this is the right pick. And sometimes they still get it wrong.
Philadelphia had the parade today, started around 11 o'clock local, so 9 o'clock our time. They went up Broad Street, and they ended at the museum, Rocky Steps there at the museum in Philadelphia. On the way, Howie Roseman. Yeah, I always got the P. Roseman got drilled in the head with a beer. And I mentioned it to Manuch right away, and, of course, he just went down that road as a typical Eagle fan.
I admit it.
No. He was on the parade route, and people were tossing, throwing beers because they were encouraging fans.
Got it.
To throw
I hear you.
a bunch of Yingling.
Just trying to give back.
Yeah.
You won a Super Bowl. Why can't we just give you some beer?
Exactly. Here's a few Yinglings, and you ever heard of Yingling?
Yes, I have.
Best beer. Have you ever had a Yingling?
Never have, but I did drink a lot of Genesee Cream Ale back in.
What's that got to do with
Well, there was Yingling there in Buffalo, but I never had a Yingling.
It's the oldest beer in the United States.
Is it really?
Yeah, but it's not out here. For some reason, they can't. The Yingling. I know Crescent Crown. You told me about 3 years ago you were bringing it. Hensley, how about you? You guys bring it. Come on. There's got to be a distributor. Scout, I don't care who you are out there. Somebody get Yingling out here.
Your Eagles.
Gosh.
You think of the Super Bowls they've won these last 5 years. I mean, a little Philly special, and then you just totally dominate. Push. And this team,
gosh, I wish we had that sound. We didn't get a chance to play the sound yesterday of Saquon Barkley.
I can get it for you.
And Jalen Hurts were on Jimmy Fallon, and Jimmy, who I think is great.
Yeah.
I'm a fan, big fan. Had some fun with these guys and basically said, what's this tush push thing? And when you're ready, Connor, if you could find it, let's get that because I thought this was funny. So here they are, and they're talking about the tush push.
The first one was doing what people are calling the tush push. Yeah. Is that what you call it?
It's not what I call it.
It's not what you call it. No. What do you call it?
I'm not going to say what I call it, but it's
okay. But
everybody is came up with their own name for it.
The
brotherly sub, the tush push, all these different things. It's not that.
It's not that. Okay.
I was shocked too because when I got there, I known as the tush push, but I didn't know if that's what it would be called. But I thought it was called that, and it's not called a tush push actually.
No. What is your role in the quote unquote tush push?
I think I have the easiest job, to be honest. I think I'm the one who pushes the tush.
Jimmy Fallon would be saying that's pretty good.
That's good.
I mean, right? I mean, if you don't like Eagles, okay, I get it, but that's pretty good.
It's just he thought they'd go, okay, goal line right, tush push. It's probably goal line right,
about a minute.
QB sneak, left or right, whatever it would be the technical term. But that's funny. He comes in, Saquon Barkley. Imagine goal line, tush push. Left, right. Turn around. You're pushing me from the behind, right? To understand what that is, but. You watch that play. It's unstoppable. I mean, for a yard, even 2 yards. Matter of fact, I've seen him do that on 4th and 2. And he's gone beyond line of scrimmage for like a 1 yard gain. So I don't know what's the limit of the tush push. Maybe it's a 3 yards max. But those defensive linemen down there, I know that They were talking about how they were scrunched on that one touchdown.
Which do you think is harder to defend, the tush push or refrigerator?
Oh man, I would say the tush push because it's everybody in unison moving. I mean, you might basically he's 4 yards back, handing the ball off to Perry. You might get a linebacker or defensive tackle that might get free and hit him in the hole.
But Perry's so big,
big man.
Sean Salisbury is going to join us next as we'll talk to him about Aaron Rodgers, a Minnesota Viking. He's a former Viking, so we'll get his thoughts on that and his take on Super Bowl 59. We've got Mark May in about 15 minutes. Appreciate you hanging out with us. We're out here at Wright Toyota. It's Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B right here on ESPN 620.
I was in a wreck. I need a check.
I was in a wreck. I need a check.
I was in a wreck. I need a check.
I'm Kevin Rowe from Lerner & Rowe, and we've been serving Arizonans for 20 years. Make the best choice after an accident. Call 977-1900. That's 977-1900.
Lerner & Rowe is the way to go. Call 977-1900. 977-1900.
Hey, it's Dom with Venezia's Pizzeria. You know us for delicious family dinners and huge party pizzas. But did you know we are great at feeding a large group too? Our full catering menu has a ton of variety, so everyone will find something they love. And the best part? We don't charge per head. Just tell us how many people you need to feed, and we'll handle the rest. Check out our catering menu at venezias.com. That's venezias.com. Venezias, a family and catering tradition.
Sun Devil men's and women's basketball are ready for a Big 12 showdown. Jihad at the left elbow bounces to Clayton. It's coming on the left baseline for a slam dunk. Catch Sun Devil men's and women's basketball for a hoops doubleheader Saturday, February 15th, when the Sun Devil women play host to Utah at 2 p.m., followed by the Sun Devil men's basketball team at 6 p.m. when they take on the TCU Horned Frogs. Get your tickets today by calling 480-727-0000 or go online to sundeviltickets.com.
The President's Day weekend sale is here at Vans Golf Shops by Worldwide Golf with deals in every department like 15% off all demo and used clubs, green tag apparel, buy 2 and get 1 free, and prior gen Titleist Pro V1 and Pro V1X now $49.99. Swing into Vans Golf Shops for the President's Day weekend sale or shop us online at worldwidegolf.com. Proudly serving golfers since 1960.
I'm just going to run to that restroom real quick once I start the Sean Spilsbury clip.
Guarantee. Get there.
Arena Sports Grill in Scottsdale on Bell Road is your home for billiards, poker, and trivia. And the Roc and Manuch Amber on tap. Stop by today and experience top sports viewing, off-track betting, daily specials, and ice-cold Roc and Manuch Amber poured by Dos Equis. Arena Sports Grill open daily until 2 a.m. For their daily specials, head to arenasportsgrills.com. That's Arena Sports Grill in North Scottsdale.
Yo, I'm your old basketball. Haven't seen you out on the courts in a while. Why not pass me over to Goodwill? Donating me helps Goodwill's mission to provide career training and support services right here in the community. And that's a slam dunk. Donate today. Hey, I got next.
To find your nearest Goodwill locations and to learn more about our mission, please visit goodwill.org. Goodwill, where your things start new lives.
Time for your uncensored and unfiltered view on football and even life. Former NFL and USC quarterback, the QB maximizer, Sean Salisbury.
Salisbury protects the pass, and has a first down as he hits Ant Lee, the X-49.
Now on Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B on ESPN 620.
Former Minnesota Viking, Sean Salisbury now on ESPN 620. Sean, could you see Aaron Rodgers in a Minnesota Viking jersey? Kind of follow the same footsteps as Brett Favre. You know, he was a Jet as well, then a Viking. Do you see it going the same direction, possibly?
I guess there's a possibility. I mean, we can all be bought an opportunity, and wouldn't he like to have another, that receiver there? But I would think that for me, the Pittsburgh Steelers seem to be more logical because, and in truth, I'll be honest with you, if you're going to do Aaron Rodgers in Minnesota, why not a guy who finished in the top 7 or 8 in the MVP, re-sign Sam Darnold for less money at $15 million? Let's say you give Darnold, you're not going to franchise him now, because that'd be $40+ million. You're not going to sign him to a long-term contract because the last 2 games it's still in flux, and you got McCarthy coming, but he's coming off a rookie injury, and will have not played a snap. And I know you have high hopes for him. So the bridge, I'll be honest with you, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to win me more games in Minnesota than Sam Darnold at this stage of their career. I just don't. And whether the Achilles, and I hold Aaron Rodgers in the highest regard, but I can get Sam Darnold a lot cheaper to bridge the gap. And if Darnold ends up somewhere else, then that's fine. But I don't think that that's the place for me. It's Pittsburgh, because I don't think Fields is a long-term answer, and Russell Wilson's best football is behind him. And maybe the Raiders, if he wants to go out there and they want to make that commitment to Aaron on a short-term 1 or 2 year deal. But I don't see Minnesota, just because it would slow down. If they are going to move on from Darnold, then that means they're just going to turn it over to McCarthy and grow from there. So it wouldn't make any sense for Aaron to go there. If you need another year bridge before McCarthy's ready, Sam Darnold played well enough for me not to go out and get most of the year. If he had a great game against Detroit, an average playoff game, Sam Darnold would already be under a new contract, I assure you. So, or whenever the free agency part started. So he'll be fine, and he may want to go somewhere and be a starter, but nobody's going to offer him, $30-35 million to leave. But he put up enough to at least entertain stuff like that.
Rock brought up the Colts yesterday. You talked about a bridge, or maybe a guy take a 30-second timeout in Richardson and bringing Aaron Rodgers in, and I think that'd be a good potential. But don't you think Rodgers wants to go where he has a chance to at least make the playoffs, or one more go around and try to win it all?
Oh, 100%. And I was thinking about that, the bridge, and they had Flacco obviously filling in for Richardson. Richardson, an enormous talent, but 44 to 48% accuracy won't fly in the league. He's going to have to, whoever coaches him in the offseason, whatever he does with the mechanics part of it, because, the dude's he's the typical freak show we got going on. These guys that can run and throw. He can throw it from here to Indianapolis, and from Texas to Indianapolis. He's got every skill you want, but the number one skill he doesn't have. Aside, and the leadership thing was in question when he begged out, and hopefully that was just a young guy, immature mistake. But the accuracy, I don't know how you survive in this league on an average, on a decent team, but average, a 9-8, 7-win team, by completing 50%, 48%, 45% of your passes. I don't see how you now. Even if he bursts out and comes out and gets to 62%, it's crazy now. But that in the NFL, that's kind of low now. So, but he could survive it then because he can make up for it with the skill set, but not in the 40s. That's not sustainable as a starting quarterback. So, but I know I go on every week in Indianapolis. They friggin' love his skill set. They love it, but they love it until 44% gets you hurt. So the question is, will he pout? Did they take that step back last year, give Flacco a go, and now bring him in? And you're just going to grow with Richardson and say he's going come hell or high water. So, but the side you guys are talking about makes perfect sense. If you're looking for a bridge, and you were a playoff team or a team that could win a Super Bowl, should I say, then Aaron Rodgers is a good go. Mm-hmm. But if you're Aaron Rodgers, why would you want to go there? I want to go somewhere. He can go anywhere and make some money. I'm hoping he's made plenty of it, and he'll make plenty of it when his career is over, whatever it is he wants to do. But I think that Aaron Rodgers ends up someplace where it gives you a chance to win. If he just wants to go to Tennessee for a year and survive it, or 2 years, make yourself $60 million or whatever it is, and you'd be great. But if you're looking to win, the question is, who is that? And of all the teams that I've gone over, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers, depending on what they do. It's a good place. They've got good players. Their defense will keep them in games. It's a tough blue-collar town that they expect to win. And Mike Tomlin's teams don't finish under 500. Or in this case now with 17 games, they don't finish under 500 and win 8 games. They just don't. But they could use a better thrower, and maybe a year coming after this injury, Rodgers will be better, and maybe have a bone to pick, and maybe even a little more, energy as the quarterback, which it seemed that it felt like New York and the whole thing just kind of took everybody's energy away, him included, and he took some energy away too. He's tough on franchises, and he's tough on his teammates, and he's tough on players. And while I love him, Pittsburgh seems like the right fit just because they're a playoff team, and they're a team that with a little more offense, then you got a chance. And with him, he's far better than the two guys combined that are there now.
All, but they've got their guy. but it's like, Aaron, we'd love to have you. Can't pay you this, but if he so-and-so goes down, we still have a shot with you. You think he would look at the backup role with the right team?
I don't think he feels like he's at that stage yet from my vantage point, Manuch. I think it's, the guys who's rolling along, and he's at the age where you'd say yes. Hey, man, go milk a handful more years of it, play 5, and just and lead a guy, help a guy, be there in case. Go all Joe Flacco on him, right? But I think Aaron thinks he's a legitimate starter. I think it's probably the last 2 years what happened in New York. There's got to be a little bit, while the money was good, there's got to be a little bitterness because he was hurt one, and then everything went sideways, and they ran him out. The new coach, we don't want you here. So they're basically, that's what they're telling him. So, and he hadn't had that feeling much in his career. It's usually he's running the show. So I don't see it because I think he'd be on the sidelines, and I think he's maturing more as far as helping the other guy. I don't think he feels like he's there. I think if you went to him and said, how about backing up for 2 years? We'll even pay you $40 million, $20 a year as the highest paid backup in football history. I don't think he'd do it for the simple reason. I think he'd retire first. I think he's got other interests that would drive him out. If there was only backup jobs available, I don't think Aaron Rodgers would take that. And I don't think it's the money. I think it's the ego and pride of being a backup to somebody he thinks he's better than. I don't think that would happen.
Sean Salisbury, Roc and Manuch here on ESPN 620. All right, Sean, I got to, kind of pat myself. Yeah, gloat a little bit. My Eagles, born there, Philly, and they
should,
destroyed them. I mean, it wasn't even a game. Come on. How does that happen?
I can't remember the last. There's a couple I can't remember is what I'm about to answer. I can't remember the last time in the middle of the first quarter, late in the first quarter, I felt like I did about a Super Bowl. And it was the one score 12 times they beat teams in one score games. They've won games this year.
Yes.
The game was over. In my mind, I almost found something else to do at the end of the first quarter. That's honestly got true.
Oh, really?
And in the middle of the second quarter, halftime came. Because we cooked and done all that. I went and got a shower. I didn't see the halftime show.
Wow.
I came back and said, I did not 1 hour. And I'd watched the commercial halftime show. And it looked to me, I've never seen an Andy Reid team so lethargic, the lack of passion, the lack of execution. That's not him. And I mean, that's just not who he is, obviously, or the Chiefs. It felt like they were, it felt like the other team was making the historic run. Like they were going for 3 in a row. I don't know if it's the hype. If 2 in a row was plenty, 3 in a row is too much, all the leading up to it. It looked like an ill-prepared, non-passionate, physically weak football team. Now, I say that knowing that I know who they are and that they'll be back and Mahomes is great, but he's yanking balls into the ground. They can't block anybody. And the 2 Super Bowls they've lost now, the tackles in the game against Tampa got the backups because they were hurt. They got hammered at the Lions. That front 7 dominated that game, and they went on and won. The front 7, Vic Fangio had as good a game plan as you will ever see and didn't blitz once. 4 dudes were knocking those guys back into the quarterback. And then it got to the point when I know it's Mahomes in 8 years and he's invincible most of the time. His head was watching the pass rush. He'd drop back first guy and he had to bail. And I don't blame him. I get it. It was as one-sided. The score was still not indicative of the ass kicking they put on him. It was physical. Name me a phase of the game where Kansas City was better. The one thing they did great is Barkley hit singles, like we said.
Yes.
You got to hold him to singles. And they did. Even though he carried it like 25, 26 times, and he threw it and he caught some passes out of the backfield, they did shut it.
Hey, Jax, can you hear me there?
Who's been great under pressure in 2 Super Bowls, would have been the MVP in the previous one. Both big perimeter wide receivers get single coverage. They go score in Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. So they did everything that if you stop this, the other guys had to execute, and they did. And Fangio's game plan was Steve Spagnuolo-like without the pressure. Philadelphia was phenomenal. Jalen Hurts deserves more credit for being just a poised winner. And the Kansas City Chiefs got a lot of work to do because we saw some flaws in that game that were, quite frankly, a bit shocking to me. And their offensive line, they can't block any. They're going to have to improve that this offseason. It was, we were talking about over-under on, how many more will they go to? I think it's going to be tougher to get to more with those AFC quarterbacks than we think. Are
you guys able to hear me there by chance?
And I thought it was the ball damn near 3 times more than the other team, you're going to win about 99
It's
attempts as a lead.
It's starting to come up around here, which has been fun.
Good stuff. We always appreciate him making some time for us here on Roc and Manuch.
And then, Jax, this will come straight to you here, my friend.
That's Sean Salisbury, and that's SEAN and Sean. And he is brought to you today by All City Towing. Join the team at the largest towing company in the state, All City Towing. He was talking to their GM today, and he commented on me making a comment about Howie Roseman.
Yeah,
that he got hit in the head, at the parade today. And that I made a comment you may not have heard that, he's not athletic, he's a GM. So my buddy took offense to that because he's a GM. And he thinks he's athletic. So he's the guy that you would talk to if you're looking for a job at All City Towing. Yes. So visit them online at allcitytowing.com. That's All City Towing, where your future is on the move. Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B now on ESPN 620 and on FM at 98.7 HD2.
Now time for your Roc and Manuch with Jimmy B's bottom of the hour ESPN 620 Sports Update, sponsored by Twin Peaks Sweethearts Day. I'm Jackson Groff. An Arizona State Sun Devil and 3 Arizona Wildcats are among 329 players invited to the 2025 NFL Draft Combine. ASU will be represented by standout running back Cam Scatterboo, while Arizona's invitees include projected first-round pick and wide receiver Tedorow McMillan, offensive lineman Jonah Savia, and kicker Tyler Loop. According to Mel Kiper, has Scatterboo slated as his 8th best running back in his big board rankings last week. ESPN analyst Matt Miller has Tedorow McMillan going 9th overall to the Saints, and the talented offensive lineman out of Arizona being a potential first-round talent to the Baltimore Ravens at 27. It's a Sweethearts costume party today at the 5 Valley Twin Peaks locations. Scenic Views are calling you for Sweethearts Day. Swing by for Scenic Views wrapped in red and steal your heart specials at Twin Peaks.
Arizona's headquarters for Toyotas is Wright Toyota. Hey, Rock, for my friends at Wright Toyota in Scottsdale. You will always find the right deal at Wright Toyota. Wright Toyota has been driving Arizona's home for years. Amazing service, pricing, and great selection. I encourage you to discover the difference at Wright Toyota. Make the right choice, Wright Toyota, just off the 101 on Frank Lloyd Wright Boulevard, and always online at wrighttoyota.com. The right price, the right selection. Check out wrighttoyota.com.
Hey, Arizona, it's Mike Wilbon. I've been around sports professionally and personally for a long, long time. And whether you're on a court, in the gym, or just navigating a tough day, you need to stay hydrated. That's where Cocoa 5 comes in. Cocoa 5 isn't your average sports drink, packed with the electrolytes your body craves, but without the artificial junk you don't need. Available at your favorite stores, Cocoa 5, active hydration. Stay hydrated, Arizona.
At Grand Canyon University, we believe in equal opportunity, and the American dream starts with purpose. Whether your pursuit involves a bachelor's, master's, or doctoral degree, GCU's learning environments are designed for supportive networking and collaboration. With over 330 academic programs, GCU provides a path to help you fulfill your dreams. The pursuit to serve others is yours. Find your purpose at GCU. Private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu.
I was in a wreck. I need a check.
I was in a wreck. I need a check.
I was in a wreck. I need a check.
I'm Kevin Rowe from Lerner and Rowe, and we've been serving Arizonans for 20 years. Make the best choice after an accident. Call 977-1900. That's 977-1900.
He's in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Rock.
Oh, he's still there. Who knows?
I am so sorry.
Soaking
I
into
was
hot springs.
late. I was at the retina specialist getting
Soaking
my
his body
first
after
AMD treatment.
just a tough.
I was worried.
So he's
that
in
the
Arkansas?
injection would
Yeah,
hurt.
Hot
It's
Springs,
much better
Arkansas.
than
I don't know what he's doing. I think he's doing a
the same
speech or
retina
something.
specialist that I
He
see
didn't
for my
he was going to send me a
diabetic
schedule, but he never did.
Yes, and I am so glad
Looks
I didn't wait.
When your vision is
In
at
the,
risk from retinal disease, you need the
he took the
expertise of a retina
Eagles,
specialist. If you experience blurred central
38-27.
vision, a curtain-like shadow
He had
in
the
your
highest
vision,
score out of
floaters, flashing lights, or wavy lines, see a retina specialist.
Small businesses are the heart of America.
But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE
He
has
would have
helped
won the real
millions of entrepreneurs build their business
closest
for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
Now to talk everything football is two-time Super Bowl champion, a member of the famed Washington Redskins Hogs offensive line, 1981 first-round pick, earned All-American honors at Pitt, and a member of the College Football Hall of Fame, football analyst and commentator Mark May, now on ESPN 620.
All the way from Hot Springs, Arkansas. What are you doing in that resort city there in the state of Arkansas there, Mark May?
Well, they moved the Frank Broyles Award from Little Rock to Hot Springs this year for the first time at lovely Oak Lawn Casino and Racetrack. And right now I'm at the racetrack because they've got a race name for every coaches that were finalists. And I was the first race to have my name put on there of the day. So I didn't pick the winner of the race, but at least I got to be in the winner's circle and take a picture with the horse.
So let me ask you, so the race was named after you, or a horse was named after you?
No, the race.
The race. So the Mark May
Put your
race
name on the
won.
race.
Okay.
Yes.
And you didn't bet? You didn't win it? I mean, what's the deal?
I didn't know. I didn't win. I haven't cashed the ticket yet.
So you don't know if you
But
won
it's
or
a good
lost.
time.
Okay, good. That's kind of cool. I mean, that's not something you can.
Yeah, wow.
Not a lot of people can say they had a race named after them. I
Yeah.
mean, there's one thing to have a beer or
Sure.
a sandwich or something like that, but an actual race. Wow, that's kind of
I'll send
cool.
you guys, I'll text you guys photos.
Yeah, please
Thank
do.
you.
Let's see
Appreciate
that. That's pretty cool. We'll get those on social.
Rocky's kind of a big deal. You got to remember that. It's Mark May.
I know. Well, you took the Eagles like I did, so we have something in common. You took it as a pretty high-scoring game, which it ended up being one after the garbage time late. But did you really honestly see that happening, that it was going to be that type of dominance where a team can only have 24 yards in an entire half?
That's incredible.
I didn't get that done. But I saw guys going into the game. I told you, it's one of the trenches that are lost in the trenches. If you look at Philadelphia's defensive line, the way they played, particularly against the Commanders, the previous game, you knew that they're going to be dominant in this game. And particularly if you watch the Kansas City offensive line, they are having things from inside out the sack. But when you
All right, Connor, we're gonna try to call him back. So we have bad connection. It is Arkansas. I mean,
what does that mean, Rod? They don't have any
do you
hours
know?
there.
You honestly, do you know? And don't make something up. Try to be funny.
Yeah.
Do you know anybody from Arkansas?
The only guy I play with, one guy is from Arkansas, Joe Ferguson.
Okay,
He
so
played-
one guy.
Yeah, one guy. He's the only guy
I don't know
I've-
anybody. All I know is there was a president from there.
Yeah, and I know Lou Holt's coach there, but he.
Let's try it back. I mean, I know they just got the internet out there recently in Arkansas. All right, let's try this again. Sorry, you were getting all muffled there. So you had a good point on the Eagles and expectations.
Yeah, just looking at the match.
That's not going to work. Darn it. All right, Connor, let's just tell him we'll have to try another time. Oh,
we'll get him next week.
Arkansas.
Yeah, at the racetrack. Had a race named after him, for crying out loud. How about that? Yeah, you got the first round of the Mark May race. These 10 thoroughbreds or whatever it is. I mean, it's got to be pretty cool. But he didn't win.
I was just Googling Hot Springs, Arkansas, and I was like, wow. It looks pretty kick-ass. So I couldn't even tell you what airport to fly.
He'd like to try one more time.
He would like to try one more time. All right, Mark. We'll try one more time. One more time.
Okay. All right, guys. How about this? Is this better?
Yeah, much better. Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, there you go.
The matchup against the Chiefs, I just thought it was going to come down to the offensive line of the Chiefs against the defensive front of the Eagles. And going back, looking at the Kansas City Chiefs when they played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I kind of had that in my mind that if they can get to Patrick Mahomes and get to him early, particularly just 4 rushers, they'd have a great opportunity to win the game. And that's what happened. The Kansas City Chiefs offensive line just couldn't hold up to the pressure that the Eagles put on them. And when you look at the way they played through the playoffs, the Eagles were a hot football team. As long as they didn't turn the ball over against the Chiefs, they had a great chance to win. And I thought that both of these teams were pretty close, but I just looked at the talent of the Philadelphia Eagles on both sides of the ball. I mean, you look at the way this team has been constructed, they are amazing. I mean, think about all the positions that they drafted extremely well. They developed well. They went in free agent and got players. Everybody contributed. This team's going to be, guys, they're going to go deep in the playoffs the next couple of years and possibly win a couple of Super Bowls, maybe even back-to-back.
You know, Mark, it's interesting. You think of Howie Roseman and how well he's done year in, year out basis. I think of Bobby Beathard when he was your general manager there with the Redskins and how well he kept it consistent. Now, free agency was different. I don't even know if the plan B free agency was going in those days. But, I mean, the respect you got to have to keep a team like you guys together, keep the core nucleus, and now modern day, what Roseman, I'll even say Brett Veach with the Chiefs, are doing to keep these teams consistent to vie for championships, it's truly amazing.
It is, and it's a lot harder because remember back in the day, as you well know, we didn't have free agency.
Right.
You know, we went to plan B before free agency, so you could keep your guys that you wanted to keep. Back to threat in the old days where if you were disgruntled with your contract, they threatened to send you to Buffalo or Green Bay. Now you want to keep teams together. And you look at the way that the Chiefs and the Eagles are constructed. The front office for both of these football teams and these franchises are A+. You know, you can compare it to any team in the league. You know, compare it to the Cardinals, it's a joke. You know, the way that this team has been developed on both sides, the Chiefs and the Eagles, you know, right now they should write a paper on this is in the salary cap era. This is how you build your football team.
Yes.
From the inside out, get your quarterback and get the job done that way.
So if we look back at dominating defenses, and we just talked about the Eagles, and you've been around for just a few years as well as Rock. So was it a like-kind game like some of the four Steel Curtain defenses, 85 Bears, 2000 Ravens, or the Legion of Boom? What would you have compared that performance to, even with the garbage touchdowns at the end?
Probably when we played the Denver Broncos. Because the Broncos came out and they scored early in the first quarter, and our defense was dominant for the remainder of the game, and the offense just took over, and we just put a bunch of points on the board. It kind of reminded me of that because our defense with Dexter Manley and Dave Butts and our defense with Charles Mann, they were dominant up front against the Broncos. It kind of reminded me of the back in the day.
Yeah.
But the way this team is constructed, I'm telling you guys, they may be the team that gets to three-peat, not the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, not only that, I mean, you talk about the defense. If they can keep those guys together, I think when I think of the guys that are on the block right now, are free agency, Milton Williams and Sweat are both out there free agency-wise to keep them. But the one thing that you talk about both of these teams, seeing the pluses and minuses, mostly pluses, what are some of the things you see in both these Super Bowl teams that the Cardinals could use or need to incorporate if they're going to take the next step?
Well, the Cardinals have been telling us for 2 years they need secondary help and they need to get a pass rusher. And they haven't done that in the last couple of years. Yes, they've drafted a couple of players, but they haven't come to at least play the NFL competition yet. And if you look at the Cardinals, this is a team that they've got a lot of holes to fill. They've got holes on the offensive line. They need another wide receiver. On the defense, they still don't have that guy to get to the quarterback. Why don't they just go sign Hassan Reddick or something like that and bring him back, because they should have never let him go in the first place. But their secondary also needs players. They probably need at least a cornerback and maybe a free safety. And looking at the Cardinals, they just have too many holes to fill. And this is a team, guys, in free agency, and I've said it before. I've said it on the air here, and I've said it on the air on television. No quality free agent wants to come here, and they won't. The only way that you'll find somebody is a player that's at the end of his career that wants to get the bag the one last time. That's the player you're going to get. You're not going to get a quality player that's in his prime to come here for the money and play. Because if you're a player that's worth your salt, you want to go to a Super Bowl, and you want a chance to play, why would you go to the Arizona Cardinals? You want to go to Philadelphia. You want to go to Kansas City. You want to go to Baltimore. You want to go to San Francisco. You want to go to the Rams, but you don't want to go to Arizona.
Or if you're an offensive guy, you may want to go play for Kellen Moore there with the Saints. And my question leading to that was, what is it about Kellen Moore's play calling, aside from having a Saquon Barkley, that you've seen in his play calling with the Eagles this last year that you felt that he's maturing as a play caller that will transcend with the Saints?
Well, the thing is, he had the Jimmy and the Jones this year. You look at the players he had. You mentioned Saquon Barkley. You look at the wide receivers he's got on the outside. He's got a great tight end in Dallas Goedert. The offensive line was spectacular, and all the pieces came into play. So you look at Kellen Moore, and I don't think he had a great year as a play caller, because remember, the first 4 games, they struggled.
Yes.
They were ready to fire Sirianni the first 4 weeks of the season. They want him gone. They wanted Kellen Moore gone. But this is a team that put it together at the end. Jalen Hurts didn't care about his numbers. He didn't care about his rushing numbers. He didn't care about his passing numbers. All they wanted to do was find ways to win. And they didn't have a lot of hiccups. You look at their last 10, 12 games of the season, no hiccups in their schedule. They just continued to win each and every week. And if they had to run the ball with Saquon Barkley, they ran the ball. If they had to throw it to him out of the backfield, that's what they did. If they had to throw the ball vertically, they went down the field vertically with the football with Smith. That's what they did. No matter what they wanted to do offensively, as long as that offensive line held up, Jalen Hurts is basically, it was dealer's choice for him if he wanted to run, pass, throw it to the tight end or wide receiver.
Roc and Manuch with Mark May here on ESPN 620. Where do you expect Aaron Rodgers to land if he continues to play?
Probably on his front.
About a minute or so left.
At the beach.
You think he's
about
done?
it, guy. Think about it. Why? Well, look at all the off-field problems that the Jets had. You don't want those distractions, particularly at your quarterback. If he's not going to show up for off-season workouts, if he's not going to show up for minicamps in the off-season, and he's supposed to be your leader at quarterback, why in the heck would you want him there? And then he shows up on. Nobody wants to hear him talk. If no one goes to the locker room, he's supposed to be quarterback. He's supposed to be the leader. But it's all about accountability, and this is a guy that I sure as heck wouldn't want to play for. I wouldn't want to block for the guy. And there's a lot of teams in this league. They're saying
we could wrap.
Go out. He's going to go play for the Raiders possibly in Vegas. Pete Carroll doesn't want him. Why would you want him if you're a coach out there and it's your first head coaching job? Why would you bring in Aaron Rodgers? If you're a seasoned coach out there like a Pete Carroll, you're not going to bring in that distraction to your locker room. It's not going to happen. He'll end up someplace, but I guarantee it'll be a disaster wherever he goes.
Well, there you heard it from Mark May. Mark, I will let you enjoy the races and in the hot springs there in Arkansas. So thanks for joining us on the road, man. We appreciate you. We want to catch up with you the next week or two, as there's a story that hit that for NIL in Georgia and in Alabama, where the NIL guys, the college players, football players, may be tax exempt from NIL money, which is just unheard of. But that's the SEC.
I wish I was 40 years younger.
Oh my gosh, aren't you right?
You and me both.
Totally. So have a great weekend, Mark. Thanks for jumping on.
All right, guys. Take care.
There he is, Mark May, joining us from Hot Springs, Arkansas. We keep bringing up Aaron Rodgers, but I just don't think he wants to finish his career like he's
on a downer.
I mean, you look at what Tom Brady did. Mm-hmm. He goes to Tampa, wins the Super Bowl. You look at Peyton Manning. He leaves the Colts and goes to Denver, wins the Super Bowl. I mean, there's a lot of those scenarios out there.
Sure.
And, another team that may make some sense is Kelvin Moore in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. They need a quarterback. I mean, well, you can argue Derek Carr or not, but, he's a player's coach. I mean, it's so funny. Kelvin Moore, Kellen Moore, yeah. It seems like just yesterday he was playing for Boise State.
Yes, yeah.
And then here he is now. He's a head coach in the NFL.
And he was only 1 year with the Chargers, and they fired him there, but he comes to Philadelphia, and he's got the tools to go ahead and call.
After Dallas.
After Dallas, and then the Chargers, and then here. But I think what Mark May said is, hey, if you've got the guys, you can call your offense. And it was very conservative those first 4 games. But with Barkley, the type of talent they had, and that massive offensive line, we'll really see now Kellen Moore going to the Saints. By the way, he's non-committal on Derek Carr. So I don't know, Rock. Maybe they might take a peek at Aaron Rodgers maybe coming there. Never know. They got, you think of Spencer Rattler, the young man out of Pinnacle High School. He's there. I don't see him as the immediate future, but it's going to be Derek Carr or somebody else that they bring in.
But there have been other veteran quarterbacks like the ones we mentioned. We could bring up Brett Favre,
sure.
Donovan McNabb, Matt Hasselbeck, guys that, played at one team for a long time. Joe Flacco. I mean, that guy's still been around for a long time.
And had success moving on.
Yeah, Phillip Rivers. Yeah, that's why I brought up the Colts yesterday, because I'm like, all right, Phillip Rivers, Flacco, I'm thinking Jeff George.
I think I know that, your Sean Salisbury talked about Pittsburgh. I like the Colts situation because I think that
I don't see Aaron Rodgers as a Steeler.
I don't either.
I can't see him with the uniform.
Yeah, I don't either. I think that they're satisfied with Russell Wilson. I think that, and even Justin Fields, they're looking at the upside. I mean, maybe a quasi good fit, but I like the Colts situation because Richardson is he's young and he's still very, very raw. And if he feels he's got a chance to at least go win and have a chance at the playoffs, then he might end up at that spot.
Our It's Your Call question of the day, which is brought to you by State 48 Roofing. What part of the NBA All-Star Game will you be most interested in watching the most? Well, the results next, and then tell you the schedule tomorrow in regards to all the great college basketball on. It's Roc and Manuch, Jimmy B, right here on ESPN 620.
It's the Lerner and Rowe one call, that's all call of the day. If you're looking for a
Music
full-service law
total
firm, just make one call,
difference.
that's all.
You guys agree it needed an upgrade?
602-977-1900. Lerner and Rowe,
Lord.
voted Arizona's best law firm.
Yeah, you dream about this stuff all the time. Everybody dreams of playing an all-star game. I'm not there, but I'll be involved in the weekend to some extent. And like I said, man, I put a lot of effort into shooting and working on that, and priding myself on that over a lot of years. And so it's
You guys are live.
nice, but obviously I want to go win it. So
Yeah, it's bad when we got to play a Lerner and Rowe one call from a former player. That's been the All-Star game.
When they couldn't find KD.
It's like, oh, jeez.
Yeah, I met when Bridges and Johnson got traded. He went, "Oh, we're gonna get KD," and he's still getting his numbers, but they're just not winning. And you see those two now. Mikel's there and with the Knicks, and Cam is still toiling away. But nice to see him have some success.
All right, with this rain, if you have any issues with your roof, State 48 Roofing, of course, the #1 referred roofer in the state of Arizona. They do residential, they do commercial. They have been for over a decade. So if you're looking for a free quote, maybe some repair, best bet, just type in state48roofing.com and you'll find everything you need there. You can get that free quote. All right, what part of the NBA All-Star Game will you be most interested in? The games, the three-point shooting contest, the dunk contest, or the skills challenge? What did you go with, Manuch?
I went the skills challenge. I appreciate the guys, the way they can handle the ball and go through all the different obstacle courses they had, and it's really a way for a lot of fans to see this guy's just not a good shooter. He's a good dribbler. He passes, his accuracy, and the guy I loved watching was Steve Nash when he pretty much would just hammer these skills challenges, and then he'd be part of the three-point shooting. Just goes to show how great of a basketball player he was, and then lead the charge in those all-star games. So, and Steve Nash, if he could have been a guy that participated in the dunk contest, he would. But it was fun to see guys, stars there getting involved in all of them. But I voted skills challenge.
I voted three-point contest. 50% went with that, followed by the dunk contest and skills challenge. No one is even no one cares about the games.
Amazing.
Which, we kind of beat that up earlier today. Here's what's on tap, brought to you by the Roc and Manuch Amber, which is produced by Dos Equis. What do we have here tomorrow? Houston at Arizona. That's the ESPN game at
5
noon.
minutes.
Grand Canyon is at UT Arlington. That's on ESPN Plus at 1 o'clock. ASU will host TCU at 6 o'clock, and you can listen to that on the mothership Arizona Sports 98.7, and it's on ESPN Plus. Sunday, the NBA All-Star Game is on at 6.
That U of A game is going to be big time for Houston and them. And
It's got to be a hot ticket down.
And I would think, you hope ASU can get off the schneid and beat TCU after that double overtime loss to Texas Tech. Hopefully they don't have the hangover, but that ASU game versus Texas Tech, that's the best basketball, that I've seen out of an ASU team in many, many years. To be able to keep up with the team going back and forth like that. It was much like the Gonzaga game. Was the first or second game of the year, Rock. Being able to keep up with them. And we felt, wow, ASU's got a pretty good shot of doing very, very well in the Big 12.
4 minutes.
As well as they hung with them. But then watching that Texas Tech game, I hope it's a carryover that tomorrow night at 6 o'clock over there at Sun Devil Land, that they can beat it, because they're going to have a tough one coming up against Houston on Tuesday night.
For the second year in a row, there was a shooting that took place during the Super Bowl parade. If you remember last year in Kansas City,
yes,
you had a bad one. One person was killed. 11 children were injured. 33 other people wounded. I mean, it was just a really bad
horrific
deal. Well, there was a shooting today in Philadelphia as well. It wasn't on the parade route, but it was kind of off the parade route near Ben Franklin Parkway, if you're familiar. The shot was by a man who was wearing an Eagles jersey, 2 women. The positive thing is they're in stable condition. One woman was struck in the upper leg. The other one was just in the leg. So they were young. They're in their 20s, and
3 minutes.
The shooter's been looks like the shooter's been caught and all that kind of stuff. So
Just
not
such a
sure if
shame.
the motive it has
Such
to
a
do
shame.
with the actual parade or not, but of course it's the way that it will be portrayed on television.
Yeah, it's like you got to.
It's like you can't even have a parade.
Yeah, you got to keep your head on a swivel 24/7, 365.
And if you're the general manager, you got to keep your head on a swivel as well. He got drilled in the head as Roseman got nailed right in the head, major gash. Still trying to figure out what beer it was. Miller Lite's a pretty big one out there in Philly. Maybe it was a Yingling. Maybe it was a Bud Light.
Just can't. The doing it in a Super Bowl parade or any kind of championship parade, it's got to be the best.
Real quick, two other games. Northern Arizona's at Sac State. That's 2:00 tomorrow on ESPN Plus. Also tomorrow, 1:00, GCU is at UT Arlington. Big ASU hockey game, Minnesota Duluth, on the Arizona Family Sports Network. It's at 5:00. I think it's either tonight or tomorrow. And that has become huge. Yes. I can't tell you how many people are calling me and saying, "Hey, Rock, can you give me tickets?" Hey, I haven't been to a game. Yeah. I mean, they're filling it. They're playing some pretty good hockey.
Got to get Coach Powers on. Talk about this team a little bit. Greg Power, the head coach, which started off as a club team, was it, Rock, 20 years ago? And now here they are vying for championships in Division I. So you got to feel good about it. But you're right. I've seen it is a hot ticket to go watch.
They're ranked 10th in the country.
Yeah, that's incredible to see. How far that. Talk about a program that's come so far, and make a legit way of being in the NCAAs is just truly amazing.
They're 17-10-1. They're 10-6 or 12-6 in the conference, and they're tied for second in the conference overall. I mean, it's good stuff.
Gotta love it. So hockey in the valley, hockey in the desert. Got some hockey in the desert. Hey, Monday we'll catch up with Rudy Carpenter, Craig Foy, Jerry Hairston Jr., the analyst for your Los Angeles Dodgers, and Frank Sanders all Monday right here at Roc and Manuch and Jimmy B.
By the way, the Sun Devils return next week to Mullen Arena, and they host number 3 Western Michigan. How about that? So if you're into hockey, that's probably the ticket that you're going to want next week. Next week, we'll also have some more tickets for Harlem Globetrotters for next weekend, as well as the D-backs and Rockies next Saturday.
Spring training games next Saturday, already next Saturday.
We know you have choices. We appreciate you making us part of your afternoon from 1 to 4. If you missed anything, go to rockandmanuch.com. Download the app at Arizona Sports. That's where you can see our podcast at arizonasports.com. So for Connor, for Jimmy B, for Jax, for Manuch, and our friends here at Right Toyota, I'm Rock. Have a great weekend. See you back here on